down, Jordan. Welcome to the Stokastic NBA Deeper Dive. I'm your host, Neil Ofield. You can find me on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. This show is produced by Jordan Klein. You can find him on Twitter at Jordan Klein. And I'm here with Adam Scherer. You can find him on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. This show is sponsored by Underdog Fantasy, your one-stop shop for all your best ball, fantasy, and pick'em prop needs. While you're coming in, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. We've got a nice 8-game slate here to talk about tonight. But first, Adam, I got to ask you, do you have any exciting plans for Pi Day?
I didn't, but now that you mentioned it, I feel like I need to find something to do. Huge holiday, obviously.
Yeah, it's a big one. I used to get pie my old job. They gave me pie on Pi Day every time. For some reason, Stokastic has not shipped me any pie here. So kind of bummer. What about St. Patrick's Day coming up on Friday?
Yeah, probably will just go out. I don't know. I kind of hate holidays like that because like living in the city, like I can go out whenever I want. And all that like St. Patrick's Day means is that like there's lines to get in everywhere and you can't sit down. So like I tried to go out last Saturday. I forgot that they would be doing St. Patrick's stuff last weekend for whatever reason. So like I tried to go out last Saturday. I was like, I'll go grab a drink, and I walk outside and it's just like lines everywhere. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm just not going out. So like it kind of gets annoying because like I'm sure I would enjoy it more if like I was, married, had kids, whatever, needed an excuse to go out. But since I can go out whenever I want and there's a million bars outside, it just becomes annoying.
Yeah, that's a good point. We don't celebrate a week early here, but it does, like a random Friday night is always fun. You can always go out on a Friday night, and now it's just going to be crazy everywhere you want to go out. So I hear you. Yeah, we're just doing dinner at a friend's house, so nothing too crazy for us. All right. Well, do you have any overarching thoughts on this 8 game? So I know you talked about it this morning. You were coffeeless at that time. Now you've had coffee. There's been some news since then. Any overarching thoughts that you want to talk about before we go game by game?
Just a pretty crazy slate. The Pistons are down to 9 players if Corey Joseph plays. If Corey Joseph doesn't play, they have 8. So you're in a situation there where, a lot of those guys suck, but there's a lot of minutes potentially available regardless, but especially if Corey Joseph ends up being out. We have the Spurs that could end up putting you in a similar situation where they're extremely shorthanded. So a lot of bad teams on the slate are going to be where plays are coming from. That's kind of been a theme recently anyway, and it hasn't always worked out, but I think it's important to keep in mind, because I know you'll see it like, oh, you didn't need the Pistons or you didn't need the Pacers. There's still been very good plays from those teams. It just hasn't necessarily been the ones that were playing on those nights. But like when you get these shorthanded teams, there's going to end up being good plays. There's no real way around it. So you have several teams in those situations tonight, news that we're waiting on. And then, other than that, plenty of other good spots to get to as well.
Yeah. And it's also worth noting, like last night, I think 2 of my top 3 owned plays were Chris Duarte and Killian Hayes, and both of them got hurt in games. Yeah. So that's part of the reason we saw, the chalkier guys didn't do well, and then their backups did a little bit better. Part of it was just injury news, but yeah, that's going to happen with those teams that are tanking and are kind of unpredictable. But we can start here with Cleveland is actually, one of the teams. They're only missing 2 players, but some of our best value is here on this Cleveland team. We've got Donovan Mitchell out. That's a change from when you did the show this morning, and then also Jarrett Allen out. So we've got a little bit of value on Cleveland kind of across all price ranges. We've got, the high-end guys look pretty good. They're also playing Charlotte, so that doesn't hurt. But the high-end guys look good. Mid-range guys look good. Value guys look good. Tell me about your level of interest in these Cavs players. Who's making it into your player pool? Who would make it into your player pool? I don't know if you're playing 150 tonight, but who wouldn't 150? And then who are your priorities here, if anybody?
Yeah, I think the Cavs look really good. It's a good matchup against Charlotte. They're playing at a top 3 pace over the last month or so. They've been a fast-paced team all year. You don't have Mark Williams, which should make the defense a bit worse as well. So certainly sets up as a good spot for Cleveland. And then missing Donovan Mitchell, missing Jarrett Allen just opens up a lot, because in the case of Jarrett Allen, it's not that it's opening up a lot of usage, but it is opening up more productive minutes for Evan Mobley, with his minutes coming at center now instead of alongside Jarrett Allen. It's opening up more minutes for Lamar Stevens, who is essentially a 0 on offense, but he is really inexpensive. He was already likely to play 30-plus minutes before the Donovan Mitchell news. Now that's even more solidified, I would expect. He is getting a bunch of ownership at 25%. And I talked about it this morning, where I don't love going to guys like that when they're really popular, because they're just not high usage players. But with Donovan Mitchell being out, it does at least open up a little bit more usage. Not that you expect Lamar Stevens to take a lot of it. He had an 8% usage rate last game, but it does, make him look marginally better and still certainly a good point per dollar play. I think I'm still hesitant at that ownership. I think there's plenty of other value plays you can get to, but he's going to look pretty good. Isaac Okoro looks a bit better at 4K without Donovan Mitchell. He's getting a fraction of the ownership that Lamar Stevens is getting, but I think they're pretty similar plays. And then it certainly makes Darius Garland look better with no Mitchell. It makes Karis LeVert look better. He should move into the starting lineup, give you 34 to 36 minutes in the games that he has started alongside Garland without Mitchell this year, about 0.94 DraftKings points per minute in 34 minutes per game. So a little bit higher price tag than last time he was in this situation, but still looks like a good value. There's just a ton to get to from this team. We have 16% ownership coming into Ricky Rubio. I sort of get it. He played 20 minutes last game. I expect him to play around 20 minutes here. I think that he's a good enough point per dollar value. I will say that I think $3,100 Cedi Osman at basically no ownership is a pretty decent pivot away from Rubio.
I was going to bring up Rubio because on this morning show, at that point, you were still, I think you were saying you might have more interest in Rubio than Lamar Stevens this morning. I take it that has changed since we got the Donovan Mitchell news, and maybe you've looked at it closer.
Yeah, I mean, I think Stevens is the one you're going to get to first because you can just expect more minutes, but it's kind of like 20 minutes of Ricky Rubio equals 30 minutes of Lamar Stevens, but Rubio's ownership has come up now.
Yeah.
So I don't love it. I mean, in the last game, so 2 games ago against Miami, when Darius Garland was out, we did get 25 minutes from Ricky Rubio. He did close that game. You certainly could see that. I don't think it's set in stone, but low 20s minutes from him certainly makes him look good at 3,300. The reason I mentioned Cedi, though, is just like you saw it in that game against Miami. Cedi actually played more minutes in the first half than Rubio did. He played 13 minutes. He just didn't play it all in the second half. But like, what happens if Cedi does just play well? We know that he is capable of handling the ball. We know he can play his way in the more minutes. So, I think Rubio is the guy you go to first out of him and Cedi. But I think that there is just a little bit more upside on Cedi than he's getting credit for right now.
Yeah, and I realized that since this morning show, Ricky Rubio's ownership has come up quite a bit. So that's I guess that's why the lack of interest there comes in. Do you have any? So the starting lineup will be Garland, Mobley. I'm assuming LeVert, Stevens, and then who else would you expect to start? Okoro?
Yeah. Garland, LeVert, Okoro, Stevens, Mobley.
Okay. Yep, makes sense. All right. Anything else you want to say on this Cleveland team before we move on to the other side of the game?
Nope. They are pretty much all good plays.
Right. Yeah. They all look good just with 2 of their primary guys out. Charlotte, I mean, LaMelo Ball's, I think he's out for the entire year. Mark Williams has missed the past couple days, and we've seen Nick Richards play 30 plus minutes each of the past 2 days. Kelly Oubre is he questionable? Oh, he's probable. Okay. So Kelly Oubre likely to play. Tell me about your level of interest in the Charlotte guys. Any priorities for you? Who would you consider having in your player pool?
No true priorities, I don't think. Nick Richards is the guy I'd get to first, just again, expecting 30 to 32 minutes from him at 5K makes him look decent. Not as tough a matchup against Cleveland with no Jared Allen. Still not an appealing matchup, just, a little bit easier, but probably still a little bit underpriced here. You do have plenty of good center plays on this slate. You have pay up options at the position. You have plenty of value at other positions. So that's why you're not seeing more ownership come into Richards, but coming in around 14%, no real problem with that. The rest of this team, I think, is just one of those teams, and there are several on this slate, where if in an individual tournament lineup, you want to just pick off one of the starters from Charlotte and say, like, hey, this guy's going to play a bunch of minutes. He's got a really high ceiling. There's nothing wrong with that. But, 36 minutes or so of Terry Rozier, 36 minutes from Kelly Oubre. I'm expecting around 34 from Hayward, 32 from PJ Washington. They're all pretty much priced for that playing time, especially in a relatively difficult matchup against Cleveland. But difficult matchups don't mean that you don't have a ceiling or you can't have a good game. It just means you're a bit less likely to do so. And that's why you're seeing the lack of ownership. So the nice thing about slates of this size is that, you can play somebody like Terry Rozier that is certainly capable of going for 50 plus fantasy points as a contrarian play. You don't have to make these completely off the board, hope I get really lucky type plays to be contrarian. You can play guys like Terry Rozier, Kelly Oubre that are going to play 36 minutes and certainly give you a very high ceiling. They're just not getting that much ownership because you do have other players in better spots that are going to be easier to get to.
Yeah, absolutely. As you're talking about, I was trying to remember who went off last night. There was somebody who went off at Domantas Sabonis went completely off at relatively low ownership. But sometimes you can just target, kind of star players in matchups that are a little bit worse, and then people don't want to play them, but then they still obviously have that upside, the stars. Nick Richards is the only one player that I want to ask you about. So what do you think about 15% ownership? We've got him projected for 15% ownership, 26% chance of booming, 13% chance of being optimal. How do you feel about that 15% ownership? Do you think you'd want to be above or below that, or wait to see when you make your lineups?
Yeah, I mean, obviously going to wait and see because I'm not going to like force it to happen. But my expectation is, or my first thought is that just seems pretty much correct. Like, I don't look at that number and think, wow, I can't believe people are foregoing all these other center options to like jam in Nick Richards, because they're really not. 85% of lineups aren't projected to have Nick Richards. 13% optimal percentage, 26% boom percentage. It's a good value. I think it makes sense at that ownership when you think about different ways you can build your lineups, because you can go to Nick Richards as a value here, still get one other good center in your lineup if you want, and then pay up at other positions. But you're also going to be able to build very strong lineups by, say, going to some of the value from Detroit or potential value from San Antonio that aren't centers, and then get to either mid-range centers like Wendell Carter Jr., Nick Claxton, Zach Collins, or fit in an Anthony Davis and Nikola Jokic, those pay-up options at center. So there's a lot of different ways you can approach the position, and I think that's why you're only seeing around 15% ownership.
Yeah, makes sense. Anything else you want to say about this game before we move on to talk about your Wizards?
Nope.
Actually, before we talk about your Wizards, though, we'll talk about the other side of the game. Detroit, it is easier to list the players who are available for Detroit than it would be to list off all of the injuries. They're apparently Killian Hayes not even on the injury report after getting hurt yesterday. So we're expecting Killian Hayes to be a full go. James Wiseman's playing. Jalen Duren's playing. Omarui is back playing again tonight. RJ Hampton, Rodney Magruder, Buddy Boeheim, and Jared Rhoden are the available players. And then Corey Joseph is questionable. There are so many players out for Detroit tonight. This is where you're going to find a lot of your best value on the slate, although some players' prices have come up. So maybe not quite as many as we have had on some of these recent slates. Who do you like on Detroit tonight? Who's making it into your player pool? Who are priorities for you, if anyone?
Yeah, like pretty much everybody. This is like a really tricky spot. I mean, you have a team that's a 13-point dog on the road against Washington, and they're still just going to be one of the most popular teams on the slate. When I went through and was projecting their minutes, I was trying my hardest to like not go crazy on anybody's minutes, but it's kind of hard not to, because they have at most 9 guys, and Corey Joseph's questionable and old. So it wouldn't be surprising if he doesn't play here. So, even with Joseph in, I think expecting around 32 minutes again from Omarui is perfectly reasonable. He's 3,800 power forward center, makes him look like a very good value. RJ Hampton is my guess at who moves into the starting lineup in place of Isaiah Livers. He played about 24 minutes yesterday. If he starts today, I expect him to play around 30 minutes at 3,300. He's not a great point per minute guy, but around 3/4 of a fantasy point per minute, give or take, in 30 minutes at 3,300 is going to certainly be useful. Rodney Magruder is in that same boat where he's not a super high usage guy, but he does have shooting guard, small forward eligibility. He's likely to play 30 to 32 minutes. He's only 3,500, so he's going to look good. Killian Hayes, we know, is slightly north of a fantasy point per minute without Ivy, without Bogdanovich, without Cunningham. And there's no real reason to project him less than 32 to 34 minutes here. Like you said, he got banged up last game. He did come back despite that game being out of hand anyway. I had him in a lot of lineups. And when I saw when he went to the locker room, I was like, oh, there's no way he's coming back anyway, because there's no reason to. And then they still brought him back. So he should play, at least low to mid 30s at 6,200. I don't have any problem with that. The center position is difficult to prioritize because I don't expect Duren and Wiseman to play alongside each other, especially if Corey Joseph is in. If they get down to 8 guys, maybe you see them try that out. Like, you do have a Gafford Porzingis front court on the other side, and you're sort of just out of options if you're Detroit. So maybe if Joseph is out, you do get a couple minutes where they're alongside each other. But my expectation is that that's pretty limited, and I expect a 48-minute split. 26 to Wiseman, 22 to Duren, I think is reasonable. If you wanted to think like 25, 23, I don't think that would be wrong either. But both of their price tags have come up a bit. So you have high ceilings here, but relatively low median projections compared to salary makes them interesting in tournaments, but not the same level of priority that you're getting with Omarui, Hampton, Magruder, Hayes. Same thing with Corey Joseph, probably playing around 28 minutes or so if he's active. At 5,300, that's pretty tough to want to get to. And then as far as the last 2 guys that are active, Buddy Boeheim and Jared Rhoden, Boeheim was ahead of Rhoden in the rotation yesterday. He played 22 minutes. Rhoden didn't play outside of garbage time. I'm expecting around 22 minutes again from Boeheim here, probably around 16 from Roden. Things change if Joseph is out, but we don't have any reason to think that either of these players are good point per minute guys. Boeheim is 3K flat. If you want to roll the dice on him and just hope that like he makes shots or whatever, that's fine. In a very, very limited sample of preseason minutes and regular season minutes this year, which I think totaled like 40, he's averaged half of a fantasy point per minute. But again, that's like 40 minutes. So it's basically just saying, if you like Rodney McGruder is pulling 28% ownership at 3,500, Buddy Boeheim's pulling 4 at 3K flat. If you want to say like it's the second half of a back-to-back, Buddy Boeheim's with the team, Rodney McGruder is in his like 80th year in the NBA, maybe Boeheim plays 28 minutes and I run really good. Like that's fine, but you shouldn't have any real level of comfort in his production.
Yeah, absolutely. No comfort at all in Buddy Boeheim, but that's a good point. It would make sense for them to want to play Buddy Boeheim over Rodney McGruder here. Doesn't mean that's what they're going to do, but it would make sense for them to do something like that. For Detroit, any rules that you're setting, and how many is the maximum number of Pistons players you would have in a lineup?
Yeah, so max 1 Duren Wiseman. That one I think is pretty straightforward. Like I don't expect them to play alongside each other. If they do, it's probably for a couple minutes, but they're also both relatively expensive. It's not like you're getting them at really cheap price tags. Other than that, I don't really care too much about rules. Like if you wanted to set max 1 Boeheim Roden, that would make sense, because especially if Joseph's in, because probably only one of them is playing enough minutes to potentially matter, but you're also just never going to get those guys both in a lineup. So who cares? Other than that, I don't think rules really matter too much. I think capping this team I'll probably cap it at 4. I probably won't get 4 all that often. And the reason, and I think you could make a case even for 3, there's 4 very, very clearly good plays here, but you still kind of get the situation where like, if you have Hayes, Hampton, Omarui, there's probably a value play I'd rather play than Rodney McGruder. But with how cheap Omarui, Hampton, and McGruder are, I think I'm still willing to go to 4. I just think most often I'll have 3.
Yeah, makes sense. I'm probably going to set it at 3 as my max, but I think 3 or 4 is one of those is the right answer. I don't think you want to go more than 4 or less than 3. So I think it's between those. Anything else you want to say about Detroit, or are you ready to talk about the Wizards?
I saw somebody, Jacob, I think, asked it in chat. If Corey Joseph's out, what happens? This just turns into an absolute shit show. Corey Joseph right now I have for 28 minutes. So you would have to reallocate 28 minutes across the remaining 8 guys when you already have 30 plus minute projections going to Hampton, Hayes, McGruder, Omarui, and you don't really expect the centers to play that many minutes next to each other. So it would open up where like Boeheim and Roden are probably playing actual minutes. Like Boeheim probably plays, 24, 26. Roden probably plays like 18 to 20. Doesn't make either one look great, but gives more minutes. But it would also just solidify the RJ Hampton minutes, the McGruder minutes, the Hayes minutes. It kind of just makes everybody's playing time safer if Corey Joseph is out.
Yep. Makes sense. Yeah, it's good call to cover that situation as well. All right, let's move on and talk about your Wizards a little bit. No Kyle Kuzma tonight, which opens up a little bit of potential value, makes everybody look a little bit better. Tell me about any priorities you have from the Wizards tonight and who is making it into your player pool.
Yeah, so Kuzma out's a pretty big deal here. For one, it makes the Wizards worse. It makes it a little bit less likely that they run away with this game. I said it on the show this morning. I kind like whenever you see Washington favored by 12 or 13 points, it like blows my mind, because this team certainly should be favored here by a lot, but like they're just not that good of a team, and you're missing Kuzma, which makes them worse. So it does increase the likelihood of this game being relatively competitive, but it also just makes Kristaps Porzingis look better. It makes Bradley Beal look better. You get some increased production from them, and they're both relatively inexpensive as well, particularly Porzingis, who's down just $8,700. Really like getting to both of those guys. One interesting thing right now is that we have Denny Avdia projected for 38% ownership. We have Corey Kispert projected for 7. My expectation is that Corey Kispert starts this game, not Avdia. In the most recent game that Kuzma was out, they actually started Anthony Gill, and he played 19 minutes. You got like 30 something from Kispert in that game. You got 31 from Avdia. So if Anthony Gill starts, treat that like a spot start. Don't just go jam in Anthony Gill. You're still getting plenty of minutes from Kispert and Avdia, but we've seen Kispert play more minutes than Avdia pretty much on a nightly basis recently. And Kispert's coming off of a game against Philly where he was pretty much the only guy on this team that showed up. I expect them to. So, and 2 games ago, the 2 games prior when Kuzma was out, they did start Kispert. So the combination of Kispert starting 2 times ago and Kispert playing so well against Philly, I think they probably go with rewarding him with the start here. He looked really good. Like normally he's just somebody that they, is going to be standing around on offense, knocking down threes. He was cutting really well in that game. He ended up getting 13 field goal attempts as a result, had a really big game. I think they probably reward him with the start here. Either way, so there's, I guess, like three ways it could go. If Avdia starts, then by all means feel really good about Avdia at 4K. If Kispert starts, he's not a great point per minute guy, but I do think he's playing a lot of minutes. And if Gill were to start and Avdia and Kispert both come off the bench, then I still think Avdia is fine at 4K. And I think he's fine if Kispert starts too. But I think the gap between Avdia and Kispert ownership is just too wide, given that we've seen Kispert consistently playing more minutes than Avdia. So it's not so much that I dislike Avdia. It's that I think Kispert looks better than he's getting credit for at 3,900.
Okay, well, we actually just got a super chat from Chi-Town Sean asking thoughts on Kispert given his low ownership and that this game could be a blowout. Tired of Denny burning me. You just answered that question, so I'm going to throw in another question, and maybe you answered this too. But if Avdia does unexpectedly get the start, would you still prefer Kispert over Avdia?
No, I would prefer Avdia then. I mean, you would still be able to make the case probably that the ownership gap is too wide, because if we get Avdia confirmed starting, you're probably getting like 40% ownership or something and like 4 to Kispert or something. So you could certainly make the case that Kispert's not a 10-1 dog to Avdia, but Avdia is the better point per minute guy. If he's starting, I would expect more similar playing time from them. Whereas if they're both coming off the bench, or if Kispert's starting, I think it's likely you're getting like 32 to 34 minutes from Kispert and like 28 from Avdia, which kind of balances out that projection and makes the ownership gap not as it doesn't make sense as much. If Avdia starts, then you do feel a lot better about his playing time.
Yeah, for sure. All right, anything else that you want to say about this game before we move on?
Yeah, Monte Morris seems like he might be getting slept on a little bit as well. He's 4,500. He moved back into the starting lineup last game. He played about 26 minutes, but that was also a blowout loss to Philly. So he might have played a little bit more. I think that you probably see him and DeLon Wright play a couple minutes alongside each other here with Kuzma out. But either way, I expect upper 20s in minutes from Monte Morris. He's only 4,500. Good matchup here, pulling 10% ownership. So he's another, I think, reasonable value here that may be going a little bit overlooked.
Yeah, interesting. Only 4,500, getting 11% ownership currently. And this Detroit team, I mean, it's are you concerned at all about the blowout? Like, does anybody become more interesting to you for given the potential of, I know you said that it's less likely to happen because Kuzma's out, but it's still a 13-point spread.
Yeah.
Do you factor that in at all?
Not too much. I mean, the thing with Washington too is they have to run a tight rotation, or they should be running a tight rotation here. Like, this team is trying to make the play-in game, and they keep blowing opportunities to win games that they need to win. So I don't expect them to like screw around with the rotation and risk losing this game to Detroit. So I think that, it's a situation where, like, if you project 35, 36 minutes for Beal, that's fine. If this game were to actually go down to the wire, there's a good chance you're getting 37, 38 minutes from him. So I think it's, that's kind of how I think about it is, in a game with a 13-point spread, projecting that many minutes seems like a lot. But I also think if this game really goes down to the wire, you could get more. And then also with it being the Washington side of it, if they do actually blow Detroit out to the point that you're losing minutes in the fourth quarter, there's a very good chance that Kristaps Porzingis is having a monster game, or Bradley Beal's having a monster game, and that it'll be frustrating that you lose those minutes because it's like, oh well, I could have had more, but that they're just really exceeding what you would expect on a point per minute basis anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I suppose we should move on since we're at 424. We got 6 games left to go, but I think those are 2 of the more important games to talk about. So I think it made sense to talk about those a little bit longer. We'll move on to the next game. But first, I got to tell you guys, we have an amazing deal for March Madness right now. And it's particularly amazing, I got to say up front, Fantasy Cruncher is offering college basketball for free this week. So if you sign up for our March Madness package, you can then immediately use Fantasy Cruncher. All you need to do is have an account with Fantasy Cruncher. You don't need a subscription. It is free to use Fantasy Cruncher for college basketball. So if you've been wanting to try it out, now is a perfect time to do so. Just sign up for our March Madness deal. It's $39.95 for the entire tournament. Sign up today. You can take advantage of the play-in games as well. Click the link in the description of this video to take advantage. It is an awesome deal. This is the perfect time to try out the tools. You've got Matt Gajewski's projections. Gajewski, possibly the greatest of all time. He's one of the best college sports players and analysts in the entire world. So getting Gajewski's projections is a huge thing. You get insider Discord access. You get player and team usage statistics. It's really a great package. I highly recommend signing up for this March Madness package if you are interested in trying out some of the tools. All right, Adam, let's move on. Next game on the slate, Denver at Toronto. Toronto favored in this one, 227 total. We'll start with the Denver side of the game, though. Who is making it into your player pool from the Nuggets, and any priorities for you?
Yeah, so we have a Q tag here on Jamal Murray. That does matter. If he's out, you're probably getting Bruce Brown starting, but you're also just getting some increased opportunities for Jokic, Porter, Gordon. But assuming for now that Jamal Murray is in, I don't think there's a lot of priorities from this team, but it is just another kind of appealing tournament team. This game has a 1.5 point spread, 226.5 total. So it's a game that's likely to be competitive. Nikola Jokic obviously is always a good play. You have a decent amount of opportunity cost at the center position today, but he's averaging 35 minutes per game over his last 10. We know that Denver just typically can't blow teams out because their bench is so bad. Not that you're really worried about it in this game in particular anyway, but it just makes you feel good about the playing time for Jokic. If you can find the salary to get there, that's great. Nobody else on this team's getting any ownership though. Jamal Murray at 7,900, perfectly fine in tournaments at 1% owned. Like, it doesn't matter who he's playing really. If he's going to be 1% owned at around an 8K price tag, he's always in play. Gordon, Porter, KCP, they're all just pretty much correctly priced, but another team where they're good enough players that you have some upside there. Jamal Murray in particular, if I had to go to, a low owned contrarian piece from Denver, is where I'd be looking, assuming that he's able to play.
And then if Jamal Murray is ruled out, does anybody become a big priority for you?
I don't really think so. It makes, Jokic, Gordon, Porter all look marginally better. It makes Bruce Brown look better, but he's already back up to $5,100. It's not like we still have $3,800 Bruce Brown moving into the starting lineup to burn us. He's 5,100. So, you can see it coming that he's going to burn you this time. And so it doesn't really open up too much. You have even Reggie Jackson's up to $4,800. So it's not even like I could really point to him and say like, oh, well, maybe he plays, a few more minutes, because I doubt that he's playing enough minutes that I would want him at 4,800.
Yeah, I'm looking through his game logs, Reggie Jackson's game logs, and even when he's getting starts, wasn't really putting up any fantasy points, and he was starting for a big stretch there. So
yeah, I mean, that was with the Clippers.
Oh, that's right. That is right. So 4,800. If Reggie Jackson plays, 32 minutes here, would that be? I mean,
but I don't expect Reggie Jackson to start if Murray's out. I think they go to Bruce Brown. If they go to Reggie Jackson, then yeah, you're expecting a bunch of minutes, but I'm not expecting that to be the case.
Okay. Yep. Makes sense. They've gone to Bruce Brown in the past. All right. Anything else you want to say about Denver before we talk about the Toronto side of this game?
I don't think it matters because you're clearly not doing it on the full slate, and I don't think they're on like turbo slates or anything. But I do think you're going to get Christian Brown in the rotation today. That I don't think you can really do anything with that for DFS. But if you're playing like Showdown or something, I think Christian Brown probably gets backup like actual rotation minutes today.
Yep. Okay. Makes sense. All right. Other side of this game, we've got Toronto with every relevant player healthy. I mean, Otto Porter's out. He's been out, so not really impactful there. Any interest in these Toronto guys against Denver? Any priorities for you?
No priorities, but another kind of like Denver, just an interesting tournament team, because that these starters are going to play huge minutes for Toronto. On average, you're getting 37 minutes apiece from Van Vliet and Siakam. Siakam's been markedly worse over the last couple of months than he was at the beginning of the season. My theory on that is that Fred Van Vliet was banged up at the beginning of the year, and so you were seeing Siakam have to run, the offense really have to run through Siakam. And then I think you're seeing a combination of just sort of natural regression and Fred Van Vliet being healthy again and taking on a bigger role, knocking Siakam down. But still, over the last couple months, he's around a 1.1 fantasy point per minute guy. He's averaging about 37 minutes per game. He's down to 85 or 8,600. So at virtually no ownership, there's clearly a ceiling for him there. Same goes for Van Vliet at 8,400. We've seen plenty of times where in good matchups, Van Vliet at 8,400 is one of the most popular plays on the slate. Here you have a less than appealing matchup, so he's down to 8% ownership. You still get that ceiling. Same goes for Anunoby, Barnes, Pirtle. All of these guys are just at price points where you're not looking at them and saying, like, oh yeah, I can't wait to jam them in the lineups, but you're getting huge playing time from all of them. Pirtle probably playing 30 to 32, but 35 to 37 from OG and Barnes, 37, 38 from Van Vliet and Siakam. It's just sort of like we were talking about with Charlotte and with Denver. Just grab a really good player from Toronto, throw them in your lineup. You're different, and you didn't cost yourself any ceiling.
Yeah, we've got OG Anunoby at under 1%
Yeah.
projected ownership right now. That's fairly, yeah, they're all really low owned. So I like that call. They're interesting plays just to kind of sprinkle into your lineups. No priorities, but like one of these guys is pretty likely to have a big game. It's just hard to predict which one it'll be. Anything else you want to say about this game before we move on?
Nope.
All right, Brooklyn at OKC. This one is projected to be OKC favored in this one by a point and a half, 233.5 total. We'll start on the Brooklyn side of the game. Nice matchup with OKC. Does anybody become a priority for you? And who's making it into your player pool?
So Brooklyn is a little bit different than Denver and Toronto in that they are getting some ownership, but they're similar in that there's not one guy that I think truly stands out. Nick Claxton, Spencer Dinwiddie, Mikal Bridges, all three of those guys just look very, very similar. They're all pulling 12 to 14% ownership. You're getting around 28 minutes per game from Claxton. He has the potential to play more, but typically that's what he's been averaging on this version of the Nets. You're getting around 35 minutes from Dinwiddie, 35, 36 minutes from Bridges with about a 26.5% usage rate. It just makes all of those guys look pretty good. You should get around 30 minutes from Cam Johnson as well at 6,100. I think he's a step behind Claxton, Dinwiddie, and Bridges, but still looks decent at that price tag. Dorian Finney-Smith and Royce O'Neal have seen their salaries come up to where I think they're pretty difficult to get to. But in particular, Claxton, Dinwiddie, Bridges all just look like good options.
Yeah, it's just a nice matchup with OKC. Claxton actually one of our better value scores on the slate at 6,600 with a projection of 37. So that's from just a point per dollar perspective, he makes a lot of sense. But then Dinwiddie is 7,800 with the value score of 5.4 as well. Another great value. A lot of pretty good options here, but yeah, nobody who like really stands out from the rest. Anything else you want to say about Brooklyn?
Nope.
All right, well then let's jump to the other side. OKC looks like everybody is healthy who has been playing. Any priorities for you on the OKC side? Anybody make it into your player pool?
Really like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander here. He's the only guy that stands out from the OKC side, but I just don't know why he's only $9,400 on DraftKings. The guy's averaging 36 and a half minutes per game over his last 10. He's been playing 35 to 37 minutes pretty much all season long. Knock on wood, he's the only guy in this rotation that they haven't messed with his minutes in game. You see them rest him on back-to-backs. And I know somebody in chat this morning said that they had said they were going to monitor his minutes the rest of the season. I fully, at least until I see it happen, I fully expect that to mean that Gilgeous-Alexander sits out some games. I don't think it means that they, play him 26 minutes or the stuff that they do with, a lot of their other guys within a game. I think he either just plays full minutes or he doesn't play. OKC's not tanking. They are very much alive for the play-in game. I think that you're going to continue seeing, full minutes from SGA, and I'm going to feel that way until I see otherwise. So 17% ownership coming into him, I think looks good. $9,400 price tag is good. The rest of the team is tough to get to. Josh Giddey, Jalen Williams certainly give you high ceilings, but they're also just priced up a bit from Gilgeous-Alexander missing games recently. 8K for Josh Giddey with SGA in. Is a pretty risky play. I think it's comparable to Fred VanVleet, except that you're getting 37 minutes ish from VanVleet, whereas Giddey, you're getting like anywhere from 30 to 38. So you're getting guys at similar ownership, and you're just taking on like even more risk with Giddey because of the playing time factor. Whereas VanVleet, you at least know the minutes are going to be there. It's just a matter of, does he play well? Jalen Williams is up to 7,200. He's playing a bunch of minutes. He's averaged about 34 minutes per game over his last 10. He's good, but you do see a bit of a drop off with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander back. He's still about a fantasy point per minute guy, but at 7,200, playing around 34 minutes at a fantasy point per minute, it's okay at 1% ownership, but it doesn't stand out like it would if SGA were out.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else that you want to say about this game before we move on?
No.
Okay, well then let me tell you guys about Underdog, our sponsor here today. Underdog is your one-stop shop again for best ball, daily fantasy, pick'em, props, everything you want to find, you can find at Underdog. And we have a great deal, 100% first deposit match bonus up to $100. Click the link in the description or use promo code Stokastic on Underdog to take advantage of that offer. It is, of course, for new users only. But it's a great, they've got the pick'em contest that you've seen on some other sites, anywhere that you don't have sports betting available. So like here in Minnesota, can't sports bet, but somehow I can still play these pick'em contests on Underdog. So take advantage of that if you want to, dabble into some sports betting and it's not legal in your state. You can play these pick'em contests on Underdog. You can also play daily fantasy contests. They have large field GPPs daily. I actually think it's one of the better places to find some edge at this point. It's a lot harder to find edge in DFS than it was a few years ago, but these drafts are like, a lot of pros are not playing these drafts because it's way more time intensive than building with an optimizer, and people just haven't really figured out exactly how to build lineups. So I really have enjoyed doing these underdog drafts, daily drafts, a lot of fun. And of course, you've got best ball, NBA playoff best ball going on right now. You can do some football drafts right now. So plenty going on Underdog. Check it out. Use promo code Stokastic if you are a new user. All right, Adam, next game, we have Lakers at Pelicans. We'll start talking about that Lakers side. Of course, LeBron remains out. Any interest in any of these Lakers players? Who's making it into your player pool? Any priorities for you?
Yeah, it's kind of just two guys that really stand out, Anthony Davis and D'Angelo Russell. Davis, relatively difficult to get to on DraftKings at 10,800, still pulling 13% ownership, 14% chance of being optimal. I'm pretty much in line with that as well. On FanDuel, you have power forward eligibility, so more roster spots to get to, a bit less opportunity cost. He looks good. He's obviously very good without LeBron on the floor. He's averaged about 1.6 DraftKings points per minute this year without James out there. So if you can get to Davis, great. D'Angelo Russell at 7,100. We saw him play 35 minutes last game. So we don't need to be concerned about playing time. He's healthy. He's playing a lot, and he should be very, very good on this team, especially until LeBron comes back. He's a good fit with this team, even when LeBron comes back, but it'll obviously cut into his fantasy production. But for right now, he's the clear number 2 option behind Anthony Davis, and you're going to get plenty of assist opportunities for him as well. And you can just feel very good about his role as the number 2 scorer because there's really nowhere else for it to go. Malik Beasley has some semblance of an offensive game, but he's still like a 20 to 22% usage guy. Dennis Schroeder coming off the bench certainly can, run the offense, but outside of those two plus Davis, there's nobody else to really compete with Russell as far as usage goes. Austin Reeves, Troy Brown, those guys aren't doing anything offensively, like they can't take that role. Rui can take on a higher usage role, but you shouldn't want him to. It's not like you're going to have, rotating chairs or like musical chairs about where the non-Anthony Davis usage is going. It should be very solidly going to D'Angelo Russell every game. So at 7,100, he looks like a pretty good value option here.
Who was a worse draft pick, Rui or Denny?
Johnny Davis.
Fair. Okay.
I mean, you can throw it. Yeah. Rui, Denny, Kispert, Johnny Davis, all of the above.
Yeah. Not a great run here for your Wizards. Do you think D'Angelo Russell talks shit about Anthony Davis to opposing teams?
I mean, it's D'Angelo Russell, so probably.
Yeah, fair. All right. Anything else you want to say about the Lakers before we move on to the Pels?
No, that's it. I mean, I guess like if you wanted to go deeper down the Lakers roster for contrarian plays, Vanderbilt, Rui, Beasley, I think all give you a path to that, but it's very low probability.
Okay. All right. The Pelican side of the ball, Brandon Ingram is questionable for this one. Revenge spot against the Lakers, of course. Nobody else really. I mean, Zion's still out, but nobody else of note. Any interest in any of these Pelicans players? Any priorities for you?
So the Brandon Ingram news is pretty big here. Regardless of what happens with Ingram, CJ McCollum looks like a solid enough play. It's a good matchup. You can expect big minutes from him. If Ingram is out, though, it certainly makes McCollum look better just because you can expect more usage, more production from him. If Ingram is out, it also opens up more wing minutes for guys like Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, Najee Marshall. If Ingram is in, I think it pretty much kills all of that value. So if Ingram's in, I think McCollum and Ingram look fine, but no real priorities. If Ingram is out, I think McCollum looks considerably better, and then all of those wings look a little bit better as well. The center position scares the hell out of me. Like Joe Val, we know he gives you a nice ceiling, but who knows how many minutes he's going to play. Larry Nance didn't play much in his return, but Jackson Hayes, still got minutes. I expect 24, 25 minutes from Joe Val on this center slate. It's just tough for me to get there, and I'll just kick myself if he goes and scores 50 like he does occasionally.
Yeah, I've been playing Joe Val because I've been thinking like one of these days the minutes are going to spike back up because he was playing serious minutes for a little while there, and then suddenly they've just dropped way off.
It's just hard when Nance is back. Like he's averaged 28 minutes per game this year without Nance, only like 24 with him. And last game, Nance didn't get all the minutes, but we saw Jackson Hayes play well in Nance's absence. So if like even if you're going to run a 3 center rotation for a little bit and save Larry Nance's body, it's still not necessarily giving a bunch more minutes to Jovel at this point.
Okay, I'm gonna ask this question for Gordon Powell. Is Ousmane Dieng in play for OKC?
He is no, with the caveat that he's on OKC.
Right.
Like I didn't project him enough minutes that I will get to him. I think expecting around 16 minutes or so with the bodies that OKC has available makes sense. It's OKC. If he plays 28 minutes off the bench, you shouldn't, be surprised at all. But you're clearly not expecting that. Like as far as backup minutes go, you have Wiggins, you have Jang, you have Waters, you have Saric, you have Isaiah Joe, and then you have the full starters with SGA, Jalen Williams being back, other Jalen Williams, Dort, and Giddey. So I'm not giving him enough minutes that I can get to him. It's OKC, so who knows? But I'm not playing tonight.
Okay. All right, let's move on and talk about the next game on the slate. Yeah, we covered both those teams. Which the next game, Orlando at San Antonio, is a game that could be very interesting and could be somewhat interesting depending on how injury news breaks. We'll start with the Orlando side. The only injury concern here, obviously, Jonathan Isaac still out, but then Franz Wagner is currently listed as questionable. Tell me about your level of interest in these Orlando players. Any priorities for you? Who's making it into your player pool?
Yeah, so now we're back to a really bad team that looks really good in DFS. Actually, kind of surprised we're not getting more ownership going to this game given the matchup against San Antonio, but I guess it's just a function of Detroit being shorthanded, Washington looking really good, all of that. But Wendell Carter Jr. is pulling about 18% ownership. He looks good. He is at a pretty loaded, not only a loaded center position, but a loaded price range. You have Nick Claxton here. You have Zach Collins on the other side of this game in this price range. Guys that have a very similar range of outcomes. Then you have Nick Richards for cheaper. You have obviously pay up centers with Jokic and Davis. But the thing that is interesting with Carter, and I don't really know what to make of it. They said before his last game that they were going to monitor his minutes. They then proceeded to play him 37 minutes in regulation, and he played 42 minutes, including overtime. I still expect about 30 minutes. That's what he's averaged, like 30 to 32 this year. I'm not just suddenly going to give him 34 to 36 minutes, but knowing that apparently it can happen certainly increases, makes the range of outcomes look a little bit more favorable. It's a great matchup against San Antonio. So I do really like Wendell Carter here. I do just think you need to pay attention to the ownership because there are comparable options around him as well.
Yeah, for sure. If that ownership gets up really high, then maybe it becomes a risk not worth taking. But yeah, 19% ownership where we have him right now. He looks like a pretty solid point per dollar option. We've got him in for just 30 minutes, 34 fantasy points at 6,300. But that is interesting that he played so many minutes in that last game. Maybe we could see a spike there. Certainly interesting there. What about if Franz Wagner is ruled out? Does anybody else become a big priority for you from Orlando?
If Wagner's out, I expect it to open up more playing time for Cole Anthony and Jalen Suggs. They are not super cheap, but they would offer some value here if you're getting those Franz Wagner minutes available. Anthony's 5,400, Suggs is 5,200. With Wagner in, I expect around 25, 26 minutes from Anthony, around 24 from Suggs. Makes it so it's pretty difficult to get to either one on this slate. But if you take Wagner out, you're opening up 30 to 32 minutes. It's likely that one of those two ends up starting. And then you get increased playing time there. You would probably also get either Houston or Okeke added to the rotation, but it would make them look a little bit more appealing. It would also open up a little bit more for Carter, Banchero, and Fultz offensively. Wagner's not the highest usage guy, but he does play a role. So it does have an effect. I don't think it makes anybody go from like not a good play to somebody you have to have, but it just makes the team as a whole look a little bit better.
Okay. And anything else you want to say about the Orlando side of this game?
I didn't specifically say it before, but Banchero and Fultz both just completely reasonable, like secondary options here.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Moving on to the San Antonio side of the game. We've already got Trey Jones, Malachi Branham out, along with Romeo Langford, Kem Birch. We have Jeremy Sokan questionable. We've got Keldon Johnson questionable. First of all, if both Sokan and Johnson play, tell me what your level is in, and then who is going to become a priority, if anybody, in the event that Keldon Johnson and or Sokan sit out.
Yeah, so assuming those guys play, I like Devin Vassell at 6,100. I've liked him pretty much every game recently, and he's been absolute garbage. But 6,100, coming off of a game that he played 33 minutes, the playing time's there. You just need him to shake the rust off, start making some shots. At 6,100 is just too cheap of a price tag in this matchup. So I'll be going back there. Keldon Johnson at 6,700, certainly a reasonable salary as well. So I would like getting there if he is in. Zach Collins, I mentioned when we talked about Wendell Carter. I think that he's behind Carter and behind Claxton in the pecking order at center, but I do think he's going a little bit under-owned at only 3%. If he avoids foul trouble here, is probably playing around 30 minutes. He's a good point per minute guy. So I like him as a tournament play. I think Vassell and Johnson are both easier to get to. I also think Devontae Graham at 5K looks good, assuming that he is starting. We know that Trey Jones is out. We know that Malachi Branham is out. So I expect Graham to start, play around 30 minutes. It makes him look fine. If Keldon Johnson is out, you get increased usage for Vassell and probably for Devontae Graham. If Sohan is out, it doesn't have the same impact in terms of rates, but it does still open up minutes. And where this team gets tricky is like it's obvious that if Johnson and Sohan are out, you expect increased production from Vassell, Collins, Graham, but then you just get all of these really shitty backups that are completely interchangeable, and who the hell knows how the minute's going to go. We did see Blake Wesley take on a big role last game after Branham's injury. So I think that you could, at 3,100, see him step into the starting lineup if Keldon Johnson is out. I think maybe you see a lineup where it's like Graham, Wesley, Vassell, Sohan, Collins. If Blake Wesley starts, I do think he offers value. If he comes off the bench, he's certainly risky. There are ways this rotation could play out that he gets enough minutes, but very risky if he comes off the bench. Similar for McDermott and Keita Bates-Diop. One of them probably slides into the starting lineup if Sohan is out. Maybe it's Keita Bates-Diop if Keldon Johnson's out as well, which would make him look okay. But yeah, you kind of have to wait and see what the starting lineup looks like if Johnson and or Sohan are out.
Adam, many people might not know that Gorgui Dieng is my favorite NBA basketball player. Do you think he's going to have a single useful fantasy game left in his career?
Probably not, because he now finds himself behind Mamukelashvili with the Spurs. So
it's not ideal.
Yeah, not great.
All right. Anything else you want to say about this game before we move on?
Nope.
All right, guys. Well, one offer that we have that is going to be useful for you, regardless of whether you're in a legal betting state, is NBA Bet Pro, because you can use it both for these player prop sites and also for just straight up prop betting. It is a great tool. Stokastic's top-ranked DFS pros have made millions of dollars in DFS. And of course, you can use those same projections now in Bet Pro. These projections are directly managed by Alex Baker, Sean Zahn, Steve Buzzard, some of the best DFS players in the world. They're doing the projections for Bet Pro. So you can take advantage of their data, apply advanced stats to player prop bets, and get an edge on the sports books. It's a 7-day free trial going on right now for new users, and then it's $29.95 per week or $99.95 per month. So I'd recommend taking advantage of it. That 7-day free trial worth checking out. You can find the link in the description. Of course, over time, a long sample size, we have a 2.2% positive ROI in the lifespan of Bet Pro. That doesn't seem like much, but that is massive to have a 2.2% ROI on the sportsbook. So check out NBA Bet Pro 7-day free trial if you have not yet. All right, Adam, let's move on. Talk about the next game on the slate, which is Milwaukee at Phoenix. This one, 1.5 point spread, 232.5 total. We'll start with the Milwaukee side of the game. Became more interesting. Chris Middleton ruled out. Actually, that spread may have changed since the Middleton news. I don't know if I updated for it, but Chris Middleton out for this one. Does that really impact all that much? We've got Giannis up at 12,000. Drew Holiday still priced out for when Giannis was out. Anybody on Milwaukee looking like a priority for you, and who's making it into your player pool?
So we do need a starting lineup here. I think there's a lot of ways this lineup could go. My guess right now is Drew, Carter, Connaughton, Giannis, and Lopez, because we also don't have Grayson Allen. So that's my guess. If that's the case, I don't really care about Javon Carter. He's 4K and he's still playing alongside, in that case, alongside Holiday and Giannis. If he doesn't start, he's even less relevant. But Pat Connaughton at 3,300, if he does start, does look pretty useful. Shooting guard, small forward eligible. I expect around 28 minutes if he starts, and that's certainly enough to get him in some lineups. Kind of surprised right now that we only have him projected for 5% ownership, but we also only have him projected for 24 minutes. So we're just on different pages there, I guess. But if he does start, I think Connaughton offers some value. Joe Ingles probably plays around 26 minutes here. He is 4,200 though, so he's a little bit more difficult to get to. Holiday, I think, is still very difficult to roster at 9,100 with Giannis in. And then Giannis himself, in tournaments, great if you can get there. Projected for 10% ownership, highest projected player on the slate as usual. Power forward eligible is nice. Should play around 34 minutes. Actually, we have Jokic slightly ahead of Giannis, but it's one of those two as the highest projected. Yeah. So clearly you're happy if you get to Giannis, but it is a pretty healthy price tag.
Okay. Yeah. So Connaughton for you would become a priority if he does start. I mean, and priority, maybe I'm using that term too loosely. He'd be somebody you'd have interest in.
Yeah. I mean, priority in the sense of like, I would get a good amount of him as a value play, not priority in the sense of like, I actually have high expectations for him.
Right. You're not going to like lock in Pat Connaughton, but certainly playable. And would you play Connaughton? Maybe you said this. Would you consider playing him even off the bench?
Yeah, I guess, but it's certainly a lot riskier.
Okay, fair. All right. Anything else you want to say about Milwaukee before we move on to the Phoenix side?
If they were to go to Jay Crowder starting at 4,300, he'd look okay. But again, like even that's $1,000 more expensive than Connaughton.
Okay. All right, moving on to the Phoenix side. We obviously have Kevin Durant still out. We've got Torrey Craig back for the Suns. Any priorities for you from the Suns? Who's making it into your player pool?
No true priorities here, but they do look decent in tournaments, particularly Ayton, Paul, and Booker. You're getting good playing time out of these guys. This should be a competitive game. DeAndre Ayton in particular, another good center play at 7,400. He's played increased minutes recently, played about 35 yesterday, despite not needing to play down the stretch. You get increased production from him with Kevin Durant out. You're back to the very healthy production that we were getting earlier in the year with Chris Paul, Ayton, and Booker before you saw Durant come in and knock Ayton's usage down to like 12%. So Ayton looks good. Again, opportunity cost at center, but if you can get there, that certainly looks appealing. Chris Paul should give you around 34 minutes, should get around 36, 37 from Booker. You get high ceilings from those guys, but pretty much correctly priced. And then I don't really see anything outside of those three that I'm very interested in getting to. Torrey Craig is in like the Rui Hachimura bucket where he's 3,800 and playing minutes and maybe you'll run really good and he'll score a bunch of fantasy points, but there's nothing that should make you think that's going to happen.
I see Josh Okogie has finally come back down to earth after smashing as chalk for like a week straight. You're not interested in playing Josh Okogie here?
Yeah, not really. I mean, 5,200 is just probably where he should be priced. The playing time is there. The thing that concerns me with Okogie is in the games that he's started with Chris Paul and Devin Booker this year, he has averaged about 0.8 DraftKings points per minute, which by itself is fine. He has shot 47.5% from three in those games. If you're only going to average 0.8 DraftKings points per minute while shooting nearly 50% from three, and you are sure as hell not a 50% three-point shooter going forward, that's really concerning for your future projections.
Yeah, I was very frustrated because Josh Okogie, another guy who I loved as a Timberwolf. I bought a bunch of his his top basketball cards. I bought them, held on to them because he was so good defensively. I was like, if he can just figure this out offensively, he's going to be great. And then eventually I sold them because he left the Timberwolves and wasn't any good. So
I mean, I like him on this team. It's just hard from a DFS standpoint because his job is to defend and then go stand in the corner and make the wide open threes that the defense will give him. So if he happens to, knock down 60% of those threes in a game, you're getting a good game at 5,200. It's just that you're obviously not counting on that happening very often. And he's not doing a lot in the way of anything else if he's not shooting lights out from three.
Right. He's a good 3-and-D player. I wish that he had the three part of his game when he was on the Timberwolves because we definitely needed it. All right. Anything else from this game? I see you're taking a sip, so I'll move right on to the next game. Unless you have something you want to say. I see you swallow.
No, I was just going to say it's another one. It's always kind of funny when you get the Suns and the Bucks, and from a DFS standpoint, it's just I don't really care about this game. Give me the Magic and the Spurs and the Pistons and the Wizards. But great NBA game. Would look forward to watching it. Not a lot that I expect to be playing from it.
That's a great thing to do on Pie Day, Adam, is watch this Milwaukee at Phoenix game. That sounds like a good way to celebrate with a slice of pie, of course. All right. We have Knicks at Portland, the final game on the night. It's 2.5 point spread, 228 total here. We will start with the Knicks side of the game where Jalen Brunson is questionable. First of all, if Brunson plays, I'll just hand it off to you. Any interest in these players? How does that change if Brunson is available versus if he's not? Any priorities for you? Who's making it into your player pool?
Yeah, so he's listed as doubtful, so I'm assuming he's not going to
Oh,
play.
okay.
I mean, the difference from him playing versus not playing is that obviously Emmanuel quickly looks better. RJ Barrett plays more minutes. Josh Hart's playing time is more secure, and Julius Randle produces at a better rate. But I'm not expecting him to play unless we get him upgraded to questionable at some point between now and then. But it does open up a bit for this team. No guys that are pulling tons of ownership. Again, that's pretty much reserved for players on the Pistons. But Julius Randle at 9,900, certainly a good play here. Should give you around 36 minutes. And again, you get an increased role offensively with no Brunson. RJ Barrett at 7K, certainly a healthy price tag for him. But this is somebody that goes from playing 28 to 30 minutes when Brunson is in to give back to his 38-minute role without Brunson. So the opportunities are there. The pricing just adjusted. Similar for Emmanuel quickly. $7,100 price tag. He did only play 31 and a half minutes last game. Miles McBride played a bigger role than usual in that game. I'm not reading too much into that, even including that game. And if you strip overtime out from the games where it's happened, in 8 games this year where Quickly has started in place of Brunson, again, stripping out overtime, he still averaged 39 to 40 minutes per game. So I'm not just looking at the 31 and saying like, oh, that's what he does now. I still expect, 36, 37 on average. And sometimes it's going to be a hell of a lot more than that. But the price tag has adjusted to where he's a risky play. Like at 7,100, I'm playing D'Angelo Russell first, but D'Angelo Russell's also going to be more popular. He's getting like 2 to 3 times the ownership right now. Quickly is certainly somebody where in a given lineup, if it's like, oh, well, I already have all this, Detroit chalk and Cleveland chalk or whatever, and now I need a $7,100 guard, but I don't want 15 to 20% owned Russell. Emmanuel Quickly is like a perfect play in that situation. Josh Hart at 5,400 looks fine. He should play 30 to 32 minutes probably. Mitchell Robinson at 5,100, only pulling 5% ownership. He didn't play as much last game. He didn't play at all in the fourth quarter, but he's averaged about 30 minutes per game over his last 10. You're typically getting 30 to 32 minutes from him. He's someone where, kind of like I was just saying with Emmanuel Quickly versus D'Angelo Russell, Nick Richards pulling 15% ownership at 5K. Mitchell Robinson only 4% or 5% at 5,100. That's like a perfect spot if you have that build where you would go Nick Richards, but you don't want to take on that ownership. You just slot in Mitchell Robinson and hope he beats Nick Richards, which is going to happen more than 1 in 3 times.
I didn't even hear you mention that this is a revenge game for Josh Hart. Did you just
Oh,
forget
I didn't
about
even
that?
think about that. Yeah, totally forgot.
Big time revenge game. Speaking of all these minutes that the Knicks are playing, I never appreciated Tom Thibodeau. I wanted the Timberwolves to get rid of him so badly, but as somebody who plays the Timberwolves frequently in DFS, I should have loved him. I should have taken advantage because he was playing them, 38, 40 minutes a game. Missed opportunity there, I guess. All right. Anything else about the Knicks before we move on to the Portland side of the game?
No, I think that's about it.
And you didn't say it, but I think it was implied in your response that now Josh Hart, your favorite play on the slate.
Yeah. Yes, obviously.
All right. Moving on to the Portland side of the game. We've got, Damian Lillard has a tag on him in Fantasy Cruncher. Questionable for tonight. Okay. I did not realize that. And then also, so does Jeremy Grant. So we've got some things up in the air here for the Blazers. I'll just hand it over to you. How much interest do you have in these guys? How are things going to change based on availability of Lillard and Grant?
Yeah, it sucks. This is a 10 o'clock game. If Lillard and Grant are in, there's nothing that you should be prioritizing. I do think Dame Lillard's going a little bit under owned at 4 to 5% owned at 10-5, just because of the ceiling that he offers you. But it's one of those situations where like I think he's going under owned in the sense that he's getting 5% ownership, and I think he should be like 8 to 9% owned. It's not like he's a high probability play at all. He's just going a little bit under owned. Jeremy Grant, price tag pretty much correct. He looks better if he's in and Lillard is out. Simons certainly looks better if Lillard is out. That $6,900 price tag will start looking pretty nice if Dame sits. Jeremy Grant, if he sits as well, it looks even better for Simons. Nurkic is a huge question mark at center. We know that if Lillard sits, like you expect more usage for Nurkic. He played 26 minutes 2 games ago, barely played last game. They went with a bunch of Trendon Watford and Drew Eubanks. So I have no real solid expectations for his playing time. I projected him for 24. If you tell me he's playing 28, sure. If you tell me he's playing 18, sure. I don't have a good feel there. So if you want to gamble on him, fine. I would rather just like Zach Collins is 3% owned at 6,300. That's just going to be the low owned center I go to in that range. But there is a ton of volatility with Nurkic.
Yeah, I'm surprised they priced him up right away. They didn't really give us a chance to play him at a, low salary while he was coming back. So yeah, 6,600 a little bit tough, but that makes sense. There is some chance that they really do up the minutes here. All right, anything else you want to say about Portland here?
No, I mean the news certainly can make this team look quite a bit better, but no idea how it's going to break.
Okay, and then we actually got a super chat. Bruce Booth asked Russell or Hayes on FanDuel. I assume that is D'Angelo Russell or Killian Hayes.
Yeah. Let me double check the pricing. So 8,100 for D'Angelo Russell, 7K for Hayes, 18.5% ownership for Hayes, 2 for Russell. I mean, so I think you're getting to Killian Hayes first for sure, in terms of like just who you're playing the most of. I do like the lack of ownership coming into Russell as far as tournament play, but just who you should be prioritizing, I would take the $1,100 discount on Hayes.
Yep, makes sense. All right, Adam, any final words before we hand it over to the Live Before Lock crew?
Nope.
All right, well, Eric and Greg are going tip to tip coming up next, so stick around for Live Before Lock, and good luck tonight. Thanks for watching the show.
Yo, it's that time of week again where we're inducting you fine people into the Stokastic Hall of Fame and giving away some monthly subscriptions to everything on our site, all of our tools right here, just by rocking the Stokastic avatar, finishing top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, and tweeting your wins to @Stokastic Hall of Fame. You're getting the free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. You're getting inducted right here. All you got to do is go to stokastic.com/avatar. Rock that avatar wherever it is you play. Tweet your wins at Stokastic Hall of Fame, and we're in business. Just like Ryan did. How do I go about getting that free membership? Thanks for this content, guys. Congrats, man. $4,800 win right there in the fadeaway. Love to see that. 3rd place. And then, how about Arnold? He was on here twice last week. He's on here again this week with a much bigger win than both of those. In the 60K mini max, boom. Thanks, guys. 1st place in the mini max. $3,600 going to Arnold. Congrats, man. Keep that heater going. And Mitchell King was on here last week as well. Hit another one. Moved up to the $1 tournament this time. See, you just keep moving up, man. Then you get those free tools, right? You get the free month, and then you can use them wherever it is you play, no matter the stakes. $2,000 in the end one. Congrats, Mitchell. Keep that going. An ugly 8 game. We've seen him on here plenty of times. Thanks to the great content, Stokastic NBA, and timely news from, yes, the news guy, DFS. Even I can win a free month of Stokastic Platinum. Congrats, dude. And how about Gary Encarnacion? Missed 1st place by just 1 rebound. I'll take it. $400, 2nd place in the NBA shop. Followed up by Samuel Johnson. Had a nice evening. Again, the mini max. And remember, doesn't matter if you're playing $1 entry, quarter, nickel, $20 entry, as long as it's top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. That is literally all that matters. And you're rocking the Stokastic avatar. Make sure to update it too. Get that new fresh one that you see up here. Samuel Johnson, $283 in the mini max, 1st place. And then you have Paco for OU, $250. My dedication to following the Stokastic Live Before Lock shows pays off. Not a monster score, but not a bad takedown for a quarter investment. There it is. Again, $250 on a quarter. Congrats, man. And Skimmer to wrap this one up. Thanks to Greg Ehrenberg and Neil Ofield for the LBL last-minute advice for 3rd place. Appreciate you. LFG, 4K daily dollar, 3rd place, $125. Congrats to all of you. Remember, download the avatar. Use it wherever it is you play. Hit us up. It's Stokastic HOF and get that free month. Get inducted into the Hall of Fame. Let us...
start? All right, cool. I'm good to go.
You boys.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome. It's time for another Stokastic NBA Live Before Lock. It's Tuesday, which means Eric is back on the Stokastic channel. Not over on OddsShopper today. He's right here with us. But if you guys have been watching the show that he's been doing over on OddsShopper, if for some reason you guys are watching this and you're going, I miss my fill of Eric today, where is Eric? He's probably over on the OddsShopper channel doing the live betting show that we do every weekday, 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern time. If you guys haven't checked that out yet, go subscribe to the OddsShopper channel. Check that out. But in the meantime, we're right here. We're going to be breaking down the NBA slate. We're sponsored by Underdog today. Very exciting. We mixed up the sponsors a little bit. But Eric, how are you doing today? And what's up with you?
Nothing. I was glad we got to do a DraftKings Rainmaker show together too. My first ever time talking UFC on the air. You know, I know what I know about UFC. You carried the load, did a great job with that. Excited to be talking Underdog though, because this is a product in the best ball streets. It's been awesome. I really like all of their NBA offerings. Got to do a show with Neil a little bit earlier with that a couple days ago. It was really enjoyable as well. So lots of cool stuff coming from Underdog, not just best ball, but you got all of these other great offerings, both prop based as well as getting into the DFS streets,
which we've got projections for. We're going to talk about them in the post-lock show. We'll look at some of the Underdog stuff. We'll look at some of the props relative to our projections. But before we get there, we've got this DFS slate to talk about. And looking at the injury reports right now, we've got Damian Lillard questionable. We've got Brandon Ingram questionable. Jamal Murray questionable. Brooke Lopez questionable. Well, I won't say Brooke Lopez questionable. We're not sure if he's going to get suspended or not from yesterday.
That's kind of what I was thinking too. I saw it and I was like, he's not the one who should get suspended. We agree on that, right?
I don't think either of them should get suspended. Nothing really happened.
Yeah, it's just a lot of fluff.
Nothing
NBA's
happened.
Getting soft. NBA soft. What would the old 1993 New York Knicks think about this? What would John Stark and Charles Oakley's still trying to start fights at Madison Square Garden, which is awesome, but like that's a different conversation for a different show. Like, come on, that was not anything. But if it were to be somebody suspended, how is it not Trey Lyles?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it should be nobody suspended, but I just bring it up because somebody could potentially not end up playing today. Keldon Johnson is questionable. Jeremy Grant is questionable. Jeremy Sokan is questionable. Franz Wagner is questionable. Corey Joseph is questionable. So a lot of players on the injury report. It's going to be a lot to keep an eye on, and probably also means that Eric and I are going to be doing one of our shows where we're just going through and reacting to news as it comes. And we haven't had a slate like this that's been this filled with injuries in a minute in terms of it being an 8-game slate. The injuries are spread out across the night. So we've got a couple games to open up the slate. Cleveland, Charlotte being the most predominant one because Donovan Mitchell is missing. So I don't know how you're handling this. We have so much value on Cleveland in a great matchup against Charlotte. But at the same time, too, we have all this other potential value that could be opening up later. How are you balancing trying to leave yourself flexibility in lineups with all of the value we have on Cleveland to kick off the slate?
I mean, it's awareness. I think the last game of the night is the one that I've got my eye on the most, just because if you don't have Lillard and you don't have Jeremy Grant out there, pretty wild. So I'm preloading some Portland into my lineups. And because they're the last game of the night, makes sense to be preloading those. I have another game in Milwaukee and Phoenix to be able to cast off a little bit of my lineup victims in the event that they both play in. But I just want to be able to react to news throughout the night. And so one of my favorite things to do is just identify a spot where I think value could emerge like that. Play more Simons, play some Cam Reddish, play some Matisse Thybulle, play some guys that I really want zero to do with in the event that they're not in there. But as a result, I get that extra lineup flexibility. I think Giannis is a spend up option that I want to get to. I know that was somebody that worked out well yesterday. Domantas Sabonis, oh my God, that entire back and forth between those two is pretty wild in that late night hammer. But Giannis Antetokounmpo, I think just having that salary and preloading a little bit more of him, giving him a bump, getting to more Portland pieces, having some Phoenix as well to know that like Julius Randle's one of my favorite spend up options. He was last slate. He will be again this slate. I think I should be okay and not have to panic too much.
So let's talk about it from the other side then, because like we said, or like I said, first game of the night, we've got Donovan Mitchell out. And who are the players? Because as of right now, if I just run lineups as is, this is the team I get the most exposure to, the Cleveland Cavaliers, even with it being the first game of the night. So who from Cleveland can we not go without? Who do we absolutely need exposure to from the Cavaliers?
Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Karis LeVert.
Okay. I'm totally on board with that. I have some exposure to Ricky Rubio as well, but I wouldn't consider him a must-have. He's just.
I think Ricky Rubio's an outwardly bad play today.
You think so?
I do. So let's talk about it. I mean, Ricky Rubio's like my dad's favorite basketball player ever. Minnesota Timberwolves. He would always go up to games, and he was so depressed when he went to Utah. Now, obviously, with Cleveland, it was a dark time in the Lindquist household back in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. But Ricky Rubio, I think if we were going to see him get those minutes extended beyond like 24, 25 minutes, we would have saw it against Miami that second go around. We really did it. He's 3,300. And I think this is one of those issues where I think there are so many opportunities where value can emerge throughout the night. Like you need a 35 bomb pretty much from Ricky Rubio at this kind of ownership. And I need to get 24 minutes. And I think that's just like on the high end. I think they're going to be very, very conservative with him throughout the entire end of the season. They have playoff aspirations, and Ricky Rubio's a guy coming off the bench who's better than your average backup point guard, like him, Tyus Jones. I put those guys kind of into the same bucket. He can be a good fantasy point per minute producer. He's 0.92, but when you can't see those minutes go beyond 24 ever, I'm very worried about locking him into lineups early on because you're asking him to go play 22 minutes, which I think is probably the norm. We haven't projected closer to 20 minutes, so there's that here at Stokastic, but like 0.92 fantasy point per minute, you're going to need him to way, way outperform that in 22-ish minutes. And there are just so many spots where things can happen, where value could emerge. We're looking at Orlando coming up at 8 p.m. Eastern time. We have Portland, of course, lots of pieces where things can happen. I don't want to spend it on Ricky Rubio, knowing that even if he puts up 25 today, that's probably not good enough.
So I think he plays more minutes than that.
I don't.
The last time we saw the situation was the game against Miami. He played 25 minutes.
I know, but I said if we were to ever see it go beyond 24, which again, that's like the high point for it. It's the absolute high point. And if it were Garland that was out instead of Mitchell, I might feel better about it, where you have a ball handler on the floor, you're set to go. But it's Darius Garland who's in. And I just don't think Ricky Rubio sees more than 24 minutes in any situation here. Again, 25, like being the absolute max. He played 24.8. So like, whatever. I'm just saying like Ricky Rubio has no path for minutes upside. And that's not true with a lot of other pieces coming up later. And it's not like he's garnering zero ownership. So you're locking in a piece who's in nearly, 1/5 of lineups. I just have zero interest.
Yeah. So let me see where I have. So I gave Rubio the same 25 minutes he played last game. That ends up with him being projected for about 25.5 fantasy points at $3,300. That made me get to him in 15% of my lineup. So
you're way more bullish on his minutes than I am. Way more.
I just gave him the same minutes he played the last time in the same scenario.
See, no, that's like the absolute high point though. You're not getting anything better than a fantasy point per minute guy. Again, if he plays 25, puts up 25, and you want to put that in as like the baseline, sweet. But it's so hard for me to imagine. Again, that's one scenario where he played above it. There isn't a single other scenario the entire season that we've seen him play anything close to it. And I know Donovan Mitchell's out, but again, I would feel better if it was Garland and he was sharing the floor with Mitchell, which is weird to say.
No, I understand that. And by the way, I'm still underweight to the field on him right now. He's just the only player. Like I said, I have
Lamar Stevens starting too.
I have Lamar Stevens starting and Karis LeVert starting. And so I have 15% on the fields at 20. I still think he's a value piece to get to.
Okay. I have 0%.
Fair enough. I don't think he's worth outright fading, but we could differ on this one.
Well, I can't wait. Here's the thing. Clip it, send it to my dad. He'll disown me. I'll be out of the will. It'll all
my God. This is even more motivation.
I'm just saying, my dad, if he knew that I was besmirching the good name of Ricky Rubio, he would never talk to me again. And I have to go to Arizona and see his face this weekend. He'll probably just do it there. He'll probably just be like, not my son.
Well, you just gave me a path. I could ruin your life by playing more of Ricky Rubio. I know I said I was only going to play 15%. He's about to get the thumbs up in Fantasy Cruncher now that I have more information that I deem to be fantasy relevant. I know other people like to value stuff like, did this guy play well against them last time they played? Is this a revenge game? I care is if this guy plays well, how will this negatively impact Eric's personal life? That to me seems like a positive for Ricky Rubio, and probably something also that's on his mind as he goes out there and shoots the basketball tonight.
It's the worst fucking play on the slate, dude.
We'll see. See what your dad says.
Okay.
Super chat from Noah Levinson. Thanks, Greg, not Eric, for the help. Took down the large dollar contest on DK with the lineup generator. It's true. You were not on the show yesterday. Looks like it's time to move up to the big leagues.
Thanks.
Play the $4 now. Yeah, Noah left us a message on Twitter, which was super cool, by the way. I built some lineups yesterday using the NBA lineup generator that we have over at Stokastic, which, by the way, if you guys want to sign up with that, use the link below. You get access to it for less than $5. You can be like Noah. You win big money contest. At me on Twitter. Tell us how Eric didn't help at all. If you want to be a Noah, go sign up using the link below for the NBA lineup generator, less than $5.
Greg, Brandon Katz said, find cheap 3,400 and under players who can give you 20 fantasy points. That's how you build a good lineup. Does that make you have any question marks about your play tonight?
Well, I'll ask you this then. If not Ricky Rubio, if just right now, if you had to pick a guard who is cheaper than 3,500 on DK to outscore Ricky Rubio, who is going to be your choice?
I don't take that player. Like, see, that's the thing. You're giving me a scenario where I have to do that, and I don't have to do anything like that. Like, there isn't a scenario on this slate where I have to play somebody down there. I will say RJ Hampton, 3,300, I like more. I think he's a better play.
I have more exposure to Hampton than Rubio, by the way.
Good. So there you go. Found it. F you.
There we go. Hey, he answered the question. I asked it. He answered. I know Eric won't always answer your guys' questions, but he gave mine, and I do happen to agree with his answer. RJ Hampton is another guy who I think is viable for cheap. Now, with that said, I'm underweight to the field on Hampton as well.
Me too. I have 20% Hampton, so I just want to point it out.
Yeah, he's projected for nearly 30%. I'm underweight to the field on that mark. I'm also around the 20% mark, but do have a little bit more of him than I do to Ricky Rubio. We've got also, I don't know if you caught this, but I think it's worth mentioning just because he is a fan favorite on the show now. Rodney Magruder projected for nearly 30% ownership.
Honey Bear, how's your hubby doing tonight? Feeling good?
If you look at some of the recent minutes for Rodney Magruder, this Pistons team is absolute dog shit right now. 31 minutes for Rodney Magruder. Are you comfortable thinking he plays these kind of minutes again? Because the field is playing the field is really heavily playing the value pieces to open up the slate.
Rodney Magruder season, yeah. It's your boy. Get a little 70s porn music going. You turn the music down low. It's a nice little evening for Greg Magrudenberg over there.
First off, my personal life is private. Don't no more text asking me.
Your private life is public now, so there's that. I'll air some. Air some dirty laundry, specifically your underwear. Woo!
Jamal Murray will play. No more, and please stop texting me and asking me for videos of me and Rodney. It's very inappropriate.
When are you going to give in to the fact that we all belong together?
A week ago.
Okay.
A week ago. But Rodney Magruder is a chalk play. I really wanted to bring, because I do think there's a lot of odd players that we don't normally see pick up a lot of ownership that
I'm not playing him.
In the early part of the game, in the early part of the slate. What do you make of the ceiling of Rodney Magruder, who's basically been terrible for forever? He has one game where he puts up decent fantasy points, and now everybody's rostering him.
I don't know, but it's a pretty egregious play.
It's not great, in my opinion.
I'm definitely not playing him. I'd rather play. I'm happy with the Omer Yuri chalk. I'm happy with the Hampton chalk, but I'm not there on either of them the same way the field is. Again, do you want to play in the first game of the night as 13-point dogs, a bunch of pieces that won't even close the game in the event that it gets lopsided? I sure don't, but I have a feeling Buddy Boeheim has a path to minutes. I have a feeling we could be getting some Jared Roden in our life, set a rodent trap. That'll be fun. Don't really like a lot that we're looking at that they're just so popular. And I know something is showing up later. It's just so hard for me to want to play these guys in almost half your lineups. Omer Yuri is showing up. And then Rodney Magruder, I had zero interest when I saw that instantly today. I X'd him out of my pool. Like, he was the first person that I clicked out before Ricky Rubio. I think Ricky Rubio, maybe I was being a little harsh and playing it up because it was more fun to like really grind the knife on you there. But Rodney Magruder, your husband, I apologize. You need to get divorced tonight.
He is also the first player I took on my player pool. I looked up,
Look at us.
And I was like, yeah, it's time to end the fuck, marry, kill we did. He becomes the kill for tonight. He's out of he's out of it. It's so much ownership for a guy who's really not a good fantasy producer and just happened to have one good game his last time out. Probably the first good fantasy game he's had in 3 years or something like that. And now the field's playing him at a crazy high level. Yeah, that's going to be a no. That one is
a no from me, dog. What do you think about Killian Hayes, though? I'm having a tough time figuring out what I want to do with him at 20%. Because again, I thought he got hurt yesterday. I know Ryan had the tweet that he had gotten hurt yesterday. And I mean, obviously it sucked for me. I had the over of 26.5 PRA and he was going to smash it. It's like the only thing I got wrong yesterday on a betting card. It would have been nice to clean sweep everything, but I don't know what I want to do with him today. It feels a little bit suspect.
I do not have exposure to him right now. And I played a bunch of Killian Hayes yesterday.
Yeah, I had 100% yesterday.
And he was, relative to his price, he was decent, right? Finished with 31 fantasy points, had a double-double.
He closed, which was nice. He came back. He was a hero of my lineups last night to, team min cash yesterday. That was enjoyable.
To me, the main reason his minutes are what they were is because the game wasn't competitive.
Right.
The reason for today, though, that I'm not getting to Killian Hayes is they're just better guard options. Like, I'm playing a ton of Darius Garland. I think he's the best guard play by a mile.
Yep.
Right. So I'm playing Darius Garland. I'm getting to a good amount of Bradley Beal. And then I just have other players that I'm mixing in. But I find it hard to get to Killian Hayes at his current price point, especially because it's not like the Pistons have been that committed to him this year. Right. Usually you'd see even teams tanking. They would say, all right, we're going to try to play our young guys more minutes. Like, at times they're giving Corey Joseph minutes over Killian Hayes. So this doesn't seem like somebody they've been massively invested in right now. There's certainly a chance he could go out and play 36 minutes. He did a couple of games ago, but I don't think he needs to.
No, I'm with you. It doesn't have to be something like that. It's more of just like, I liked him yesterday in a pretty prominent way, and it's a completely different slate today because we have a lot of pending news coming up later in the night. I don't think we really had that last night from what I remember, but Killian Hayes felt pretty unavoidable last slate. Now he's up to 6,200. I think it's just like, I feel like I should like something from Detroit that isn't Omer Yuri and a little bit of RJ Hampton. And I thought Killian Hayes made some sense. And I just started running some stuff, looking at the Boom Bust tool, uploaded some of that. I thought he would look better than what he does. I think I was just having a tough time trying to convince myself coming on a back-to-back off of getting dinged up yesterday, what those minutes could look like, because he played 37 minutes against Indy 2 games before that, or 2 nights before that, excuse me. And then in that same match, I played 29 yesterday. I think he would have been playing more. I don't think it was necessarily the blowout. I think it had more to do with he got dinged up. But we have him for 32 minutes. I think there's path to that being about the right answer, maybe 34. And in that event, I would want some, but I think I'm probably with you where I'll just wait for better things to show up.
And it's also just where the price is at, right? It's at a ceiling. But I really do think the main reason that his minutes were limited yesterday was because the game did become really one-sided. And you know what might also be one-sided? Tonight's game. The Wizards are massive favorites. The Wizards favored by 13.5. That is more than double the spread of any other game tonight. It would not at all be shocking to me if the Wizards end up winning by double digits and we just see something similar to yesterday where Killian Hayes ends up playing like 30 minutes as opposed to 36. So,
hey, Greg, somebody said, they only have 8 guys. He bumped knees and came out of the game from 2 nights. Yes, I'm very aware. I watched it. It was the worst basketball game I've ever seen in my entire life. It was not enjoyable. I was working on my other stuff while I was watching that game, and it was not. I don't know why I do that to myself from time to time. It's just like, don't watch the game. I don't have to watch it, but I felt like I did because it was so fantasy relevant. I think tonight, do you have any? So Corey Joseph's the last guy I wanted to bring up on the Pistons because I do have exposure to him.
I was going to say what will change my view of some of these guys on the Pistons, that Corey Joseph is questionable to play tonight. If he doesn't play, then because it's not 8 active guys for the Pistons right now, it's 9. They have 9 active players. If Joseph doesn't play, they're down to 8. And the only guards they would have would be Killian Hayes, Magruder, Hampton, Buddy Boeheim, and Jared Rhoden. I guess they actually did, relative to the amount of players they have, it is,
more guards.
They do have more guards, but still, with that said, if Joseph is out, then I think the Hayes minutes kind of become a little bit more inevitable, but they're going to play Joseph, I presume, a pretty good amount if he's active.
I am inevitable. Let's do it.
Yeah. Always good things to talk about. Inevitability when it comes to the Pistons and Corey Joseph. The only thing really inevitable is that they suck and they end up losing.
Sohan available to
Jeremy
play.
Sohan is available, and we've got a bunch of super chats that are here.
Sure.
So let's start answering some of these as we wait for more of the news to come in. The first super chat we have here is from, well, we had the one from Abby. We already read that, or the one from Noah Levinson. Read that one. Eric looks very dude bro chill today.
I am very dude bro chill. I have a very comfy sweater on. I got the backwards, the TaylorMade hat. I'm in my feelings. I'm doing dog dad duty here in about an hour. Just me and the Dukers tonight. Wifey got to work, got to do the things, got to make that money. So yeah, I'm gonna be kicking it, me and Dukers. So I'm very, very comfy.
Keldon Johnson remains questionable for today, so no resolution on him yet. Although we did get the resolution on Sokan, who is going to be active today. I hope Keldon Johnson's active as well. I just don't want to deal with another one of these injury situations for.
I just don't want to have to play Devin Vassell. Like, I just don't. Like, please God, never again.
Yeah, the other one, and he's had a really good season, but it's also been a really weird one because he got the coming back from the knee surgery. I don't even know why the Spurs brought him back.
His standard deviation on my chart is out of control. I hate him.
I mean, that'll happen with anybody who has limited minutes at some point.
That's true. But even recently, it's just like, it's just horrendous.
That is how it goes.
It's like doing shows with you.
No. That implies that there's some sort of upside for you. It just keeps going. True. It just keeps going lower.
Just beat him down into submission.
Yeah, and then we're all the way at the end. We're at the center of the earth. It's like, boy, it's hot here. The devil's there. He's fucking our assholes. It's a whole big story. Once
come on the train,
down, we just go down
and ride
down,
it
down.
up. It's good.
Ace of Spade, DK Tiers. Thanks again. I got you, Ace of Spade. Tier 1, that is Giannis for me today over Nikola Jokic. Tier 2, Dr. J, Julius Randle. Tier 3, that's not who that is, but still Julius Randle was the answer. Tier 3, SGA. Tier 4, Bradley Beal. Evan Mobley, very close though. Tier 5, Darius Garland. Hard to get away from him now that Donovan Mitchell's out. Just in the wrong tier. With if we knew ahead of time that Donovan Mitchell wasn't going to play, Garland would be like a tier 3 or maybe even a tier 2 guy, but he's not. Tier 5, so he's my favorite guy there. And then tier 6, DeAndre Ayton, seeing extra usage in the absence of Kevin Durant. Ace of Spade. Hope that helps you build out your lineup. Some more super chats here. This one is from Jetty. 2 goats, 1 show. Let's get it.
What's the song that Jimmy Fallon and Lin-Manuel Miranda sing, where it's like,
yeah, the wrong person.
It's something. It's like Jimmy 2 goats in a boat or something like that. I can't remember what it is.
I don't know. But
it's something like that.
Fallon fan.
Okay, good talk. Glad we had it. It's fun. It's a good bit. Drink your water. Go ahead. We're not trying to have a show.
Just well, I get thirsty. Hannah Banana
tears.
Also asked DK Tiers. So just to reiterate, we get a lot of DK Tiers questions these days, and I love it. The other day, on one of the shows you weren't on, Eric, I answered a DK Tiers question, my favorite player tier by tier, and just ended up giving out the nut lineup, and then like 150 people tied for first.
Oh, I'm Greg. I'm so cool. Oh my God,
hey,
look at me.
I'm
just, is it a 2-game slate?
I'm just saying. You usually refuse to answer these questions.
Such a
I'm putting in the hard work here.
I can't wait till I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm just not happy. Go ahead.
You can't wait until what?
I don't know.
All right, good talk.
You'll find out.
Once again, I swear to God, if Rodney tells me you've been texting again. Tier 1 was just to read it off again in case you missed it. Hannah, tier 1 was Giannis, tier 2, Julius Randle, tier 3, SGA, tier 4, Bradley Beal, tier 5, Darius Garland, tier 6, DeAndre Ayton. Race Fan 22, who is your best spend up?
I thought you were going to say, who's your bae? I was like, we've had that conversation the whole show.
Who's your best? So for just the way that Jordan sent me this message in Slack, for some reason, there's like an arrow in the middle of it. So I can't really make it, but I assume who's your best spend up today on DK? Who's the expensive player you're getting the most exposure to?
Let me pull it up here. What qualifies as expensive? Because I have a ton of Nikola Jokic.
Jokic qualifies as expensive.
There you go. Just thought I'd point him out. I have a lot of him. I have a lot of Devin Booker too. Nobody's playing Devin Booker, and I don't quite understand it.
I mean, I don't have that much of the really expensive players today. But like
Yeah, I'm with you. Darius Garland, smash. Kristaps Porzingis, Bradley Beal in the early session. I do have a lot of the spend ups from the early games. I will say that, or anything over 7K. It makes sense to be getting to a lot of them. I like Pascal Siakam in that exact same spot for low ownership. Fred VanVleet, 8,400. Nobody's clicking on that. Mikal Bridges there at 7,800. I really like him over 7K. So, I mean, they're spend up ish, and I'm with you. I have more of them than I have, but I just went to the 10K range, and the most I have of anybody is Jokic at 28%.
Yeah, like I said, I just don't get a ton of the really expensive guys. Jokic is the one I have the most of as well, but he's still not somebody who's exactly dominating the exposure in my lineup. So, I mean, Anthony Davis is somebody I also get double-digit exposure to, but I mean, overall, for considering a spend up, the answer for me is Darius Garland. He's popular, but very rightfully so.
Yeah,
by the way, Corey Joseph is going to play today. That's very important.
That is a plus for everybody involved, because otherwise we're going to have to bang our heads against a wall and be like, Buddy Boeheim, come on down. That would be fun. Franz Wagner playing too. That's good.
Cool. Yeah, good. I want all of these guys from teams that are not competing to just play, because that's the worst. If there's 15 games left in the season and you're trying to parse value from teams that have no motivation to try to win, massive pain in the ass. There's still value on the Pistons, but it's very much mitigated with Corey Joseph playing, as opposed to if he was going to be out and they were only going to have an 8-man rotation. So good news there as far as I'm concerned. The next question. Oh, nope. Answered that one. Next question here is from Cheyenne DeWald. Okoro or Rubio on FanDuel? You have to pick one of them.
I would pick Okoro. So Okoro over on a different site where you play props and take overs and unders of things. He's 16.5 for a fantasy score, and he's one of my favorite plays for that. I have zero interest in playing him in DFS, but if I had to play somebody, I would say Okoro. Maybe he runs into a steal or two, but I do have him projected right around 21 fantasy points, and 16.5 is the line that I saw elsewhere. So not really an interest in the capability of trying to win a DFS tournament, but for sites where you can take over and unders, and I want to keep respect for underdogs, so I'm not going to say it. You could probably guess what it is, though. You could play 16.5 over for Isaac Okoro.
I prefer Ricky Rubio today if I just had to pick one or the other.
Don't want to use a guard spot on him.
But the question, we had to pick one or the other. I prefer Ricky Rubio. I also assume that has to be a single game question, right? Because like, why else is there a comparison between Okoro and Rubio at different positions?
Yeah, it has to be.
So let's, and by the way, I'm just making an assumption that could be totally incorrect. But if this was a single game question, would you answer then Okoro or Rubio? Because I say Rubio.
So if it were a single game question, I would say Rubio.
Okay.
I was taking positionality and the fact that I don't want to use a guard spot on Ricky Rubio into consideration.
Is Robin Lopez an option on FanDuel? This is a question from Avi Schreier. I am not playing Robin Lopez today.
Jennifer Lopez, 4 kids, and I got to take all of that ass to showbiz. Let's go. No?
This is Robin Lopez, though.
I know, but it was just...
I know Robin's a lady's name, but he's not a lady despite all that hair.
Okay. Just trying to have fun.
Are you playing Robin Lopez or no?
No, I'm not. No, Brolo.
All right, Avi. No Robin Lopez. We don't want to play him in DFS. We don't want to sleep with him. Not an option for us today.
No, not for me.
Mr. Cool Cam 97, top 5 plays for a FanDuel single entry. So looking at the FanDuel lineups that I have built, the players I got the most exposure to were Evan Mobley, Karis LeVert, Omer Rui, Darius Garland, and then a bunch of guys were fairly close to each other. Do you have a contrarian play you want to shout out for FanDuel here? Because I just gave him some chalky answers that I do think are very important plays.
He wants a contrarian play that just nobody is on. I have a guy that nobody's playing today, and I don't quite understand it because I'm pretty sure he's going to start. But nobody wants to play Jay Crowder today. I am pretty positive on a back-to-back here for Milwaukee that we're going to see Jay Crowder start, and we're going to see him play more than 24 minutes. Hot take, maybe. He played 19 yesterday. I think Pat Connaughton's, for some people, who is getting projected in and doing things. Joe Ingles has a lot of minutes projected to him too, but something tells me against Phoenix, Jay Crowder is starting. And here's the thing. I don't have to overreact or like put a flag in place here because we have Portland. We're waiting on Portland, and I would much rather turn Jay Crowder into Portland stuff. But in the event that I get screwed over in some of my bigger lineups, I have some swaps placed in where I have Jay Crowder starting news waiting for it. He has not started a game yet since he's been in Milwaukee, but something tells me he starts facing Phoenix here. Pretty wild. So again, he's 0.1% owned and should be right now. But in the event that he starts, I would want to get to him. How's that for contrarian?
He's $5,100 though.
On FanDuel, he's $5,100. Oh, I had swaps in place 4,300. I just assumed he was cheap on FanDuel. Why is FanDuel doing that to you? Don't play him on FanDuel. Just kidding. Take back everything I said. Put my thing down, zip it, and reverse it. It's here from a difference when yet. We just went a different direction with it.
So I'll give him the other answer. I feel more qualified to answer this question at this point.
Well, I'm not playing FanDuel. Could you tell?
I could tell a little bit. I could tell a little bit. RJ, based on you being what, he's 5,100. I just guessed he was going to be a different price.
I thought he was going to be cheap. Why would he be 5,100? He doesn't play more than 20 minutes a game normally. On DK, he's 4,300. I have a 2v2 picked out where I would get to him, and if he starts, because he's been a 0.82 fantasy point per minute guy, I do think that maybe some revenge in Jay Crowder's heart.
So I'll give you the 5 here. I already said Evan Mobley, Karis LeVert, Omer Rui, Darius Garland. And then in the interest of finding somebody who is a little bit lower owned that I also think is a good option over on FanDuel, I'm going to say Giannis. 11,800. He's projected for right around 10% ownership on FanDuel. We have enough value where it's not all that difficult to spend up for him. I said this yesterday as well. He was a contrarian option, but yesterday was a different scenario. People were kind of hesitant to play him because he was questionable at lock. He ended up coming in under owned. But Mr. Coolcam, I think he's a good play for FanDuel single entry as a more contrarian play, in addition to all of the more popular plays that I just gave you.
That makes way more sense. There you are. Jeremy Sohan, FanDuel 6,300. That's kind of a wild price too. Josh Okogie has a ton of positive leverage. That's pretty wild to look at in the boom bust tool for sure too. I'll go Nicholas Claxton, 7,700. Nobody's clicking on him.
All right. Chris Williams, it's your Apple guys yet again. Thanks for the great content, guys. Also, hit the like button, people. Playing DK Showdown, Bucks, Suns, who'd be your 2-3 favorite captains since pricing is high. So I'm going to run lineups for that, and then I'm going to circle back and answer your question, Chris. I'll have it done. I'm going to answer like 2 more questions while I run lineups in the background, and then I'm going to have the answer for you. Eric's Tears. Eric's Tears. Isn't it ironic, too, that Greg Magruder became Eric's Tears in YouTube chat?
Nope, makes sense. Because you're both bad people.
This is true. I don't even have a comeback for that. I'm an absolutely horrible, terrible person. Shikari Mahfood, best DK plays tonight. So if your lineups, if the slate was locking right now, Eric, we got 22 minutes left. Who are the players at the moment you're getting the most exposure to position by position? Do you have some lineups built out?
Yep, I got them built.
Okay. So we'll go back and forth. For me at point guard, it's Darius Garland, and RJ Hampton is currently second.
Wow. Oh, I thought you said you were under on RJ Hampton. Are you really spread out at guard?
I am. No, he's just really popular, so I'm underweight to him still.
That's wild. I'm Darius Garland, SGA.
And then at shooting guard for myself, Karis LeVert, Bradley Beal, and Mikal Bridges.
Karis LeVert, Bradley Beal, and RJ Hampton.
Okay. And then
again, I'm near lock Karis LeVert, so there you go.
Small forward for me is Denny Avdia right now, and then I'm really spread out behind him. I might lower my exposure to Denny a little bit, though.
Yeah, I have a ton of Denny. He's 4K, though. It's pretty tough to get away. Facing Detroit, I mean, he's still a good play, so don't overthink it too much.
Do you have anybody else? I don't have anybody else at small forward that I'm getting a bunch of.
Pretty spread out. Again, Jay Crowder is somebody that I'm getting to, but again, that was like thinking about it being the most contrarian play of all time, and I still have less than 20%.
The next options here. Oh, power forward, Evan Mobley, Omer Rui. Denny Avdia also has power forward eligibility, but I definitely think Mobley, Omer Rui, pretty clearly the best power forward plays on DraftKings.
Nasir, little baby. It's time. It's time. jamming that Portland.
Interesting.
Yep.
Who do you get the second most of at power forward?
Well, no, it was Denny Amayuri, so the obvious ones.
Okay.
And so I wanted to throw him in as the guy that nobody's playing.
Gotcha. I thought you were getting more of little.
No. I came in after you said the stuff and finished it up.
All right. Yeah, no, that's totally reasonable. And then at center, it is also Mobley for me. Amarui is center eligibility. I'm a little bit spread out beyond that. Got some of Nick Richards, some of Wendell Carter Jr., some of Porzingis, AD, Jokic. Like center, a lot of Mobley, a lot of Amarui, but also those guys have power forward eligibility. And then I'm just spread out at center beyond. But for yourself at center, who are the players that are not Mobley or Amarui that you're getting exposure to?
The exact same ones that you had just said. Getting to a lot of Amarui, Mobley, and then Porzingis, Giannis, Jokic, Pascal Siakam, Daniel Gafford. I think he's probably the one piece that I'm pretty surprised. I mean, he's less than 10% right now. He's sub 5K. The rebound rate has to go somewhere. No Kyle Kuzma on the floor. You replace it with Denny. I think Denny's a really good play. Tough to get away from at 4K, but Daniel Gafford, don't go sleeping on him. I would prefer it to be Porzingis out to really make him pop for sure. But then the field would be coming along for the ride too. We have seen him play 28 minutes against true centers in certain spots here. Has Detroit, gets the Wiseman bump, gets the Jalen Duren bump. Jalen Duren's better at basketball than what James Wiseman is, who's playing behind him there for I don't know what reason. Cool. Way to really evaluate your talent, Detroit. Way to go. Whatever.
I wonder if part of it's just because they already know that Duren's good and they have no clue if Wiseman isn't or not. So like, oh, we know Duren's going to be good. So this is, I don't agree with it.
Do they think they found like the new Twin Towers, like the new Evan Mobley and Jared Allen combination? Like, what did they think they found by, we're going to get James Wiseman and we're going to get rid of an actual good basketball player in Sadiq Bey?
They didn't find a combination because they're not starting them together. They're just, I don't know what they're doing, but
it's the worst. Them and Charlotte. I don't know what we should do, but relegation seems like it should be on the table.
We're getting more teams coming soon.
Detroit wants to trade Wiseman. Brandon Katz. That's a long time to hold on to a basketball player until you would trade them, like in the offseason. Just, you have to be timed out. That's just so.
No, we don't.
I didn't mean to hide him. I accidentally hit undo. I didn't mean to hide him.
Oh,
that's a whole thing. This is dramatic. Unhide user on channel.
It always is with you.
And then put user in timeout because I'm done looking at his fucking name. Go ahead.
All right. Some more questions that we have in here. Some more super chats. This one from Cloud LLC. Eric, you ready to get on the Ingles train?
I'm ready to get on whatever train Greg and Ronnie Magruder are on, but I'm not ready to get on the. That's the only train I want to be a part of, baby. Let's go.
No. You are not getting that invite. Not getting that invite at all.
I have no desire for Joe Ingles.
Also, I don't have Rodney McGruder. We've killed him today.
Again, Joe Ingles, if he ends up being the one who starts, somebody's starting for Milwaukee at the small forward position. There's no Grayson Allen. There's no Chris Middleton. No Gordon Dragic. That doesn't matter. But somebody's starting, and whoever it is going to be a very good play. I assume we're going to get something that shows up there. Again, that's where the Nasir Little and getting to like some of these pieces that nobody is playing on this slate who would be just completely smashed. Let's put it this way. Damian Lillard and Jeremy Grant, if they both get ruled out, everybody on Portland is sub 7K against the Knicks. I would just like to play everybody there. Does Cam Reddish have revenge in his heart? I don't know. We'll find out.
Abby Schreier is asking you, and this is just going to be a yes/no question. Does Jay Crowder have revenge in his heart?
Maybe.
All right. Firm answer.
I hope so.
I'll say this. He certainly didn't like Phoenix. Now, does that mean he's going to play minutes and be a better three-point shooter? Who's to say? But I feel like he could be a little vengeful. Corey Shea, best forward, 3,900 and down, not Omarui. So he needs a forward to roster, $3,900 or cheaper. That is not Eugene Omarui. Who's your answer there, Eric? I'm scrolling through my projections as well.
Oh my. Do you, I mean, it's depending on how the news breaks, it could very easily turn into Matisse Thybulle. It could turn into, Matisse Thybulle or Nasir Little would probably be the two. And here's the thing. Then it gives you access to be able to react to news. So I'll go with those two.
Yeah, the answer for me right now is Lamar Stevens, but you don't really want to go crazy locking up a spot with him. Torrey Craig is another one that I've projected around there. I have Torrey Craig for 20.5 fantasy points. You're not going to end up playing Torrey Craig, but it would give you flexibility to swap when more news comes out later in the day. Yep. So I'll say Torrey Craig for now, and then you just swap to a better value option that becomes available as more news breaks.
Yep.
The next question here, Jorge Giacomi, what's your stand on Eugene Omoruyi and favorite low-owned guy below 10%? So I'm pretty sure Eric's is going to be Crowder.
Yep, probably. Nobody is playing him. Again, if he doesn't start, don't play him. If he doesn't start, don't play him. But I'm just saying, I think he starts. Somebody's starting from Milwaukee, and I'll be able to pivot onto them. I'm also boosting very clearly Portland and hoping something happens.
Yeah, so for me, I'm playing a bunch of Omoruyi. I think he's good chalk today. And we were talking before about the Pistons.
I'm still underweight to him, by the way, for what it's worth. 35%.
Yeah, still a good amount that is slightly underweight to the field on him. So I do like Omoruyi. I think he's a good piece of chalk today. Who is my favorite player who's projected for less than 10% ownership? Well, let me pull up the ownership to make sure I'm looking at the most recent run and see who I like projected for sub 10% ownership.
Giannis
I also was right around the 10% mark. Let's see. Is he still there? Yes. All right. Giannis is at 9% right now. He's my answer.
That's cool.
There's a lot of guard value. It's easy to spend up in the front court.
Also, depending on how your night's going to, there's an opportunity where you can turn Giannis into like Dame Lillard plus somebody else. Like there's ways to pivot around it where Damian Lillard's going to have like 2% ownership, 3% ownership on this slate. So like if I have to turn Giannis into him in some lineups, I'm just fine with it if Damian Lillard ends up playing.
But that's my guy, Giannis. That's going to be my low-owned sub 10% answer.
Good call.
By the way, getting back to Chris Williams' question before, you wanted to know about my favorite captains for the game between the Bucks and the Suns. So I ran lineups. I still got to Giannis the most of anybody by a really wide margin. The player I got the second most of was Chris Paul. The player I got the third most of was DeAndre Ayton. And then just some of the cheaper pieces that ended up fitting in to make that viable. Campaign, Torrey Craig, Ish Wainwright, Pat Connaughton. There's actually, believe it or not, there's a decent amount of value in that game with the absence of Chris Middleton. So not that hard to get to some of the more expensive guys, even though they do exist by lots.
They do exist.
Who's that from? To be?
It's the M&Ms from Christmas commercial that's been running since 1904.
All right. That was very, Jordan definitely didn't get that either.
Well, Jordan's also a child, so it makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know about that. He wears sleeves now. We mentioned he's getting very fancy.
Oh, boy. Kispert starting.
Kispert. I mean, that's not unexpected.
I would have liked to see Denny Avdija starting.
But Denny never starts.
I know, but he had the 4 starts. I'm just saying it just would have been better. I mean, I'm still going to play Denny, so I'm just saying it's just more of like, great, Corey Kispert starting, who never starts. Literally, this is the first time Corey Kispert started since February 13th. So, yes, it matters, Greg.
Yeah, but Denny hasn't started either in a month.
I know, but I thought he was starting is what I'm... Whatever. Why am I even talking to you? Why?
You still playing Denny?
Yeah, I'm still playing Denny. He's 4K, but like I would have liked to see him starting instead of Corey Kispert. How many minutes do you have Corey Kispert? I have them. They're projected for identical minutes, but I didn't have Corey Kispert starting.
Fair enough.
He hasn't started since February 13th. Why would I expect him to start?
We don't have. There's only 10 minutes left, but he usually starts whenever they're shorthanded.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Denny started twice at the end of February. He's the guy who started the most recently.
How many times has Kispert started this year?
1, Kispert. 2. A lot more. But I'm saying that, like, more recently, it was Denny.
32
What about Kispert and Denny? They really matter. Denny Avdija is one of my highest owned players.
It doesn't change anything with me for Denny, though. I still like him.
I don't like him as much.
Let's get through some more of these super chats. Olrat14, why not on SGA today? I have exposure to SGA. There's other guards I like more than him. One thing that hurts SGA a little bit on DraftKings is that he's only point guard eligible, and there are a lot of other players that are point guard eligible that I want to get exposure to. But I have 10% SGA right now.
Yeah, she's fine. Who gives an F? Everybody should care. Denny Avdia's in over a third of lineups, and he's not starting in a spot where I expected him to start. That obviously matters to me. And coming off the bench, some of his recent games, I know that they've had Kuzma there, but he's played like low 20s minutes. So I don't know. I'm definitely taking his minutes down. I'm not going to play him in 80% of lineups. I'm going to get to very little of him now.
The next question we have here is from, so the other part of Orat's question, are you playing SGA today much?
Yeah, I like SGA today.
And then the other one, he asked Okoro or Avdia. Boy, this wasn't even intentional. Just Avdia came up again. Who would you prefer to play, Okoro or Avdia? The answer for me is Avdia.
Hampton starting.
So now I just want to play. I'm just going to, this game's about to start. Hayes, Hampton, Magruder, Amarui, Wiseman.
Hampton, 100%.
I'm about to play a bunch of Hampton.
Yep.
All right, update that. And the next super chat we have here from Josh G, taking a stand on Giddey. Have him more than 40%. Should I have a rule to not have him and SGA together? Just let the optimizer do what it do. I think 40% is a lot to play with Giddey today.
A lot of Giddey.
Are you playing Giddey much?
No, I have like 5%.
The Thunder, top 2 prize picks plays. Did you build out prize picks cards? And
I do. I have a ton, but I got to get this Detroit stuff updated. We have 8 minutes? 8 minutes. Corey Joseph. This is gonna be wild. Or sorry, RJ Hampton. That's who I meant. RJ Hampton.
So I'm going to pull up the projections that we have.
I also don't. I'm still going to get to maybe a little bit of Corey Joseph, but he was already like 3%, and now it's going to be tougher. But this is wild.
I'm pulling up the projections right now to answer your question there. The Thunder about the top prize picks plays, and I'm just going to play a bunch of RJ Hampton. Here are the top projected plays that we have for today over on prize picks. By the way, pretty fair pricing. It's not like we have anything that's projecting absurdly well today. Just a bunch of decent looking ones across the board. Trey Murphy III, I know he had a really big game, although he's kind of tough to, until we get an update on Brandon Ingram, it's tough to love the under on Trey Murphy. If Ingram plays, Murphy's projected too highly over on prize picks. So I'll say 16.5 looks good, but it is contingent. The under on that is contingent on Brandon Ingram being out. If Ingram plays, then if Ingram is out, I would like the over. If Ingram plays, I like the under on that. Other ones that project really well for us, Rodney Magruder over 3.5 rebounds. That game is going to be starting shortly. I think Magruder, even though I'm not playing him in DFS, over 3.5 rebounds looks decent. And then Isaiah Joe over 2.5 rebounds. Another one too. OKC has given him more minutes as of late. It's a really low prop, 2.5 rebounds. We've been projected for 3.5. And we don't have Isaiah Joe projected for absurd minutes or anything. So Isaiah Joe over 2.5 rebounds, something else that I could get behind. Avi Schreier, J.R. Smith, or Mo Williams. Mo Williams used to be good.
So was J.R. Smith. Plus, I gave J.R. Smith a golf lesson one time in Vegas, a Top Shot. It was great.
And now he
had his shirt off.
In college.
Great.
Now he plays in college.
Now he does play in college, which is pretty wild.
OE Brew, have to play early game chalk for DK Cash, right? Yes.
Yes.
For Cash, you do. James Magruder, 5,900 or under for DK, who is not Karis LeVert. Let's see. 5,900 under, and it can't be Karis LeVert. So the answer there would be LeVert. Nick Richards, I project fairly well. But that would also be the guy that actually comes up next for me is Jeremy Sokan.
Sokan Sam?
Sokan Jeremy. Do you have an answer?
No, it's I wasn't even listening. I'm still trying to furiously update Washington and Detroit.
All right.
Love you, though.
Next question here is from Robert Cremutula. Top 5 favorite cash game plays on FanDuel. So for FanDuel, let me pull back up my FanDuel lineups. For cash games, Mobley, LeVert, Amarui, Garland. Who would I say next? There's so many good options that are good points per dollar plays. Who do I want to give out as the... Oh, RJ Hampton now that he's starting. Easy.
Yep.
Never mind.
Ton of RJ Hampton. I have 90% RJ Hampton.
Look at you. I'm just locking him in.
Yeah, I have 90. That's what it ended up being in the wash.
It was just the easiest way to do it on short notice. Just click the lock button, rerun lineups.
After it locks and move on with your life, and hope you don't get just completely bludgeoned for it.
James Magruder, last player in for 6,400 in DK utility. Last man in 6,400. By the way, guys, don't forget, we're sponsored today by Underdog, and in the post-lock show, we're going to be talking more about Underdog and the offer we have available right now. 100% first deposit match up to $100. All you have to do to sign up is click on the link below or use the promo code Stokastic. If you guys don't know how to spell it, STOKSTIC. We're talking more about them in the post-lock show. But the super chat here, last player in 6,400 for DK utility. That for me is Wendell Carter Jr. Next question, Corey Shea. How much Richards is too much?
I don't want 30% of him.
It's funny.
15% of him.
I actually have exactly 30% of him.
I wouldn't want more than that.
I'm fine. Yeah. So if you have him more than half of your lineups, I would say it's a problem. Like I said, I have 30% and I'm fairly.
My Jokic came way down. I don't know what happened, but I'm gonna have to just survive and watch him triple double.
If you played less Denny, it was just less value you had.
That might be true. Let me find out. Yeah, I have 25% Denny Avdia now.
Jonathan Bennett wants to know our most rostered players at each position. So point guard, Darius Garland. Shooting guard, Karis LeVert and RJ Hampton. Small forward for me is still Denny Avdia. Power forward for me, Evan Mobley. Center, still also Mobley there. And then Amarui is also power forward center eligible. And then beyond that, I've got a handful of centers: Anthony Davis, Kristaps Porzingis, Nick Richards, Wendell Carter Jr., Giannis, who is the high-end guy that I get the most exposure to. So hopefully that helps you there. The next question we have here is from Corey Balmer. LeVert, Richards, Sohan, or D'Lo, Hampton, Herbert, Jones on DK. So Herbert Jones to me is only viable if Ingram is ruled out. If Ingram plays, I don't want to roster Herbert Jones. But I mean, you have to. So here's what's hard to me. I really like LeVert and Hampton are two of my most rostered players on the slate. I think you should be playing both of them.
I have 90 and 80 of them respectively now.
There's only a couple minutes left. So I have to pick one side. It's going to be the LeVert, Richards, Sohan side.
Same.
But I think you want to play both those guys.
Sohan's been a fun tournament play at times, but will say, again, get ready to get popped a lot here at the end of the season.
Sha'Carri Mahmoud, Duren, or Cole Anthony today? For the upside, I play Duren if it has to be one of them, but I'm not playing either.
Yeah, neither. Duren is unplayable on DK today.
Well, I also feel the same way about Cole Anthony.
Less unplayable, I would say.
Yeah, not playing either of them.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to play either of them either. So I'm being a dick.
Yeah, I'm just making sure that there was no other super chats. Pretty sure we answered all of those now. Let me also make sure.
All right, got it updated.
Lineups are uploaded.
That was fun. Watch Denny play 32 minutes. I'm going to feel like an idiot.
I am going to, do you remember that's what happened the last time that he came off the bench?
I know, but there's so many different factors that go into it. I mean, there's pieces for Washington that haven't been there in the past. I mean, I think what it is that there is a minutes downside for Denny in a way that I didn't expect before. I mean, I just played him uninhibited. Maybe it's going to burn me. Maybe not. I don't know. I do have 5% Corey Kispert. Whatever. It's in. It's done.
I love money. Is Dame going to give it a go? Low own, possible late night hammer. I tend to think he's more likely to play than not today. That's my guess on Dame.
Dame. Yeah. I would put him 60-40.
And then we've got Kenny Wayne. Any Wendell Carter Jr. interest against the Spurs? Yes, I am playing Wendell Carter today. The process need a last forward spot in 5,400 or under on DK. Do you like D'Lo? I do like D'Lo. 5,400.
Jammed him last tournament slate. And you know what else? Lost tons of money anyway. Yay, DFS.
5,400. That is Josh Hart for me at 5,400 and under on DK.
Joshua. Yeah.
That's kind of a weird price point. There aren't even that many guys that are priced around there today.
Joshua has revenge in his heart too.
Miami High Life. Any interest in Claxton tonight for DK GPP? I don't think I ended up playing Claxton.
I have a lot of Claxton. Yes, I do.
FanDuel, yes. DK, less so.
I've got a little bit on DK.
And that answers all of the questions. Let me just double check and make sure there weren't any more super chats that came in at the end.
We're still going to get some news later. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, there's still going to be a lot of news. So guys, stick around. I'm about to read off the existing injury reports. And then Eric and I are going to dive back into Underdog. If you guys want to sign up, use the link below or just use the promo code Stokastic. Get a deposit match up to $100 when you sign up. And we're going to help you build out some prop cards because much like a lot of these sites, another one of these pick'em sites that is launching these props you could play against the house. And we've got projections for all of them over at stokastic.com. And you guys get a 7-day free trial using the link below. We've got NBA Bet Pro, which includes all of the pick'em sites, but also as DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM. We've got all of it covered. And then we also have a package specifically for the pick'em sites, Underdog, No House Advantage, Prize Picks. We've got a package for that as well. 7-day free trial. We have a link below for that. Injury reports. Damian Lillard is questionable still. Brandon Ingram is still questionable. Keldon Johnson is still questionable. Jeremy Grant is questionable. Very important when you consider that Damian Lillard is also questionable. Which of these injuries, Eric, is going to impact your lineups the most today?
Jeremy Grant.
Do you have a lean on whether he plays or not? Or is it
I do not think Jeremy Grant plays.
Okay.
So yeah, I think Nasir Little is probably your best piece of value in the event that Jeremy Grant gets ruled out. I've talked about a number of ways that this can work out. There's the direct 3,300 pivot that you have going. If you wanted to preload any kind of your lineups with Pat Connaughton, you could have that there. I think Pat Connaughton is very live to start as well from Milwaukee. It's that whole Jay Crowder question mark. I don't know what to make of it entirely. All I know is that there is 25% of the slate that's coming up in the late night hammer where you could have the best value that is still remaining that's completely underowned. And, we talked about it the other day where the other part of late swap that doesn't get talked about enough is not just the value creation, but it's the underowned nature of that value. And so looking at Portland, Nasir Little, 3,300, I would just turn all of my Pat Connaughton into Nasir Little. I already preloaded some Nasir Little, and then I can do the inverse if Connaughton's starting.
Yeah, no, I think that all makes sense. And then the other thing too about the Blazers guys, there's so many different things that could happen, particularly if Damian Lillard is also ruled out. There's a lot of different ways they go with the starting lineup. Do you think this is a team that's getting close to pulling the plug and maybe not even trying to compete for a play-in spot?
I think it should be live. What are they, 13th in the West or something like that? I saw that the other day.
They're not far.
They're 13th in the West, 31 and 37. Not far out. You're definitely right about that. The entire West is just jumbled there. I mean, the last automatic spot, because again, you got to finish 6th, right? Or no, 6th is still the playing game. You got to finish
7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th is the playing
game. That's right. Thank you.
Spot.
So 6 is still guaranteed. Right now, Golden State just moved their way into that. The Clippers have the tiebreak. They're at 36 and 33 at the moment. And then Minnesota would be in that playing game, hosting both games in the event that they were to lose the first one. They're at 35 and 34. They have that tiebreak. But yeah, Portland's at 13th, 31 and 37. They got to make moves. Like a lot of these Western Conference teams, they gotta, they don't dance now. They make money moves. You got to move. You got to start making some wins happen if you're Portland. So yeah, if Lillard can play, he will play if he's healthy. I'm with you there. I think he's less likely. That's why I brought up Nasir Little is mainly the guy that I'm targeting.
Yeah, it's just very bizarre to me that they're so close. 2 games out of the final play-in spot, and Dame went from not being on the injury report the other day to he was probable, but a game time decision. They just didn't play him. It was just very weird circumstances. And also with them trading Josh Hart at the trade deadline, it just makes me wonder, is this a team that's really going all out for a playoff spot, or do they even have their own draft pick this year?
I don't know. All I know is Brandon Katz just said that Jalen Duren's a good play. And my brain, I mean, it's almost like we're just on different planets, dude. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, in general, it doesn't matter. Also, the game's already locked.
It's just so dumb. I just read dumb take after. I just got to time them out again. Just tired. Bulls have it. Lotto protected. There you go. Thank you so much, Alex Clausen. We'll put a clause in Clausen's contract. There we go.
But it's lotto protected. So if they're in the lottery, they get their pick. Yeah.
So then there you go. They still have a chance. So yeah, lose.
I wonder if they would almost prefer to.
They would.
I wonder if they would just prefer to not make the playoffs.
I mean, what are you going to do with this basketball team? Obviously, Nurkic has become a defensive liability to them, and that whole Nurkic Valanciunas thing was so tilting on Sunday. It was wild, but is what it is.
Let's see what some of the ownerships ended up being for the early game, and then we'll start looking at some of the props that are available over on Underdog. I'm pulling up some of the projections we have, and in the meantime, ownership. So going to be very, very popular players in the first couple games. Who do you anticipate is going to be the most popular, though, Eric?
It's got to be Omayuri, right? Or Garland, one of the two.
Or LeVert. There's a lot of options.
Yeah, there are three there. All I know is that I think Denny Avdia, there's a minutes downside there. Again, it's not that I didn't play him. I just went from having like a ton of him to having less than the field is going to have. That's for sure. RJ Hampton's the best play, though. Maybe RJ Hampton got there, but like 3,300 RJ Hampton starting, I just played nearly 100% up, 90%.
Yep, I locked him in. Another guy who also could end up being really popular.
Yep.
Opening up
could have gotten jammed
the standings. So what's going to be your official guess? Official guess right here. Final answer. Like it's
like dude, it's so hard. They're all projected so close. Also, just because Omayuri played so well and he continues to start there, I will say Omayuri.
I'm opening up the $15. By the way, $15 did not fill on DraftKings.
Omarui. There we go.
Eugene Omarui. Yeah, $15 did not fill on DraftKings today.
That's fantastic. I didn't know. Otherwise, I would have played more in it.
Yeah, they should. By the way, good guess. Number one most popular player tonight in the $15 on DraftKings, Omarui, 57% owned.
Jesus Christ.
Garland, 50%. LeVert, 43%. Mobley, 40%. RJ Hampton, 37%. Denny, 29%. Porzingis, 27%. Magruder, 27%. Nick Richards, 26%. Beal, 20%. Those are all the players that are projected for north of 20% owned. That not projected, that are north of 20% owned.
Yeah. I can't really say anything negative about any of them. I think most of who you said is overowned, but like, again, they're going to have bust percentages, single digits. You've got ownership that just, again, Omarui, I don't want to have 57% of him. That's for sure. I was already under, I'm I'm pretty close. I'm at 40%. I ended up with 40% of him. So that's pretty wild to be under on that. I'm just trying to think like, there's not a lot of people that are going to have spots to go to Portland like I have. I'm really, really, really hoping Portland sits everybody.
Are there any players you have exposure to that are contrarian then from that first game? Or at least
Daniel Gafford. What was Gafford? What was Gafford at?
Gafford.
I had 19% Gafford.
5% owned.
Love it. Gafford was like the one that I was just like, if I'm going to find something in that early session that I'm okay giving up roster spots to, I'm going to get to that. What was Buddy Boeheim?
Oh, there's no way anybody played him.
I'm flat 3K. I have 12%.
I'm looking.
I hope it's like 1 or 2. That's the only reason that I played him.
Yeah, it's going to be really low. I'm looking through. Yeah, he's 2% owned.
Okay. That's the only reason. Because again, if you take the boom bust tool, if you take like the leverage and you're looking at things, I thought there was a path, at least on the back-to-back. The game gets wonky. He could play like an entire fourth quarter. That was really the only thing that I had any consideration for it. And he's a flat 3K. If he wasn't, wouldn't be doing that.
And just because he's been a topic of conversation, Jalen Duren is 5% owned.
Oh my dear God. If Jalen Duren breaks the slate, maybe we just have Brandon Katz host the show next time.
Oh, well, no, I want to keep mine. So, but you realize that means that.
Oh, he can be the analyst next time. We'll have to hear him be like, Jalen Duren salary doesn't matter. You just play him because James Wiseman gets in foul trouble and he could not play as many minutes today. They played yesterday, remember? Guys, you remember that? That's Brandon Katz.
It's a pretty good Brandon Katz impression. I've never seen somebody do a Brandon Katz impression before, but I think it was a pretty good one.
I think shoelaces are good for shoes because it keeps the foot tied to your foot.
What are I'm trying to see what
I think oranges are delicious. He's basically Brick from Anchorman.
So I'm trying to read Katz. Some of. I mean,
I love lamp.
Yeah, I've never heard him talk before, but Eric is more familiar with him than I am, and that is according to Eric. That's how the impression goes. I'll take it as gospel. Joe Schimpf, super chat. Good stuff, boys. Let's go. Let's go, Joe. Sam Van Dam, since you timed out Katz, I guess I'll ask you all. Giannis or Jokic last ran in for DK Cash. I prefer Giannis today.
I prefer Giannis too.
The next question, or actually, did I answer all these now? I think I did. Just double checking. Oh, we had Salvo G, best small forward under 5,200 on DK. All right, so it has to be a small forward, Eric.
Nasir Little. It has
to be under 5,200.
Nasir Little's under 5,200.
What's his price?
3,300.
All right, well, I'm not telling you $1,900 on the table.
I am. Let's go with Josh Okogie.
5,200. It's Okogie for me.
Look at us. We found something.
The problem with that also, because we had a power, I can't remember. 5,400 was the forward price we got before. There just are not that many guys that are okay looking at a price round. I don't even think Okogie's that okay looking. He's just better than the other guys around here. Like, I'd rather play him than Royce O'Neal. I'd rather play him than who else is even. All right, 5,200. Who are the small forwards?
Damn it, here are the options. Time him out.
Because the options are Okogie, Bruce Brown, or Royce O'Neal. And then beyond that, and then you go to like Keta Bates-Diop at 4,700. You don't want to leave that much salary on the table, and he's a bad option today. It just becomes Okogie by process of elimination.
I didn't mean to time him out, even though Eric banned me last year during MLB for saying ERA mattered at all. It doesn't.
Try to find people in the chat who say I've timed him out.
RJ Hampton for 3. RJ Hampton rebound. RJ Hampton breaking the slate. RJ Hampton.
There we go. So what is he up to? He's up to like 4.5 fantasy points or something.
He is. I am titillated.
Absolute legend. I will
Very happy to be here.
I will not time people out in chat. Eric is a censorship man. He comes in, he doesn't believe in free speech. He wants to shut all of you down.
Yeah. I'm in the same way that Fox News is fair and balanced. I am fair and balanced.
If you guys come in here and you have what you think is a not important opinion on basketball and Eric disagrees with you, you will no longer ever be allowed to post in chat again.
I can't believe it. I love it. I love it. Chat's gonna be triggered. I just get that feeling. Chat's gonna come out now. This is great. ERA is irrelevant for DFS. Sure is.
Here we go. Let's see some of these responses. Fire Eric from Dakota Primek. A really strong point. A really strong point. Guitar. I don't even understand the relevance here, but Guitar Man 247. Let's see it, Eric. Show us your titties. Yeah, I don't even know what that would.
Just said I was titillated. Please fire this man. Yes, KD Risk 89.
Aggressive Goose. Eric, where were you on January 6th, 2021? He was dressed up in face paint, marching into there right next to Laffy.
Oh my
January
God. I sure was not. Oh man. Oh, Jordan Klein is dead. Jordan Klein, he left.
And by the way, the responses in chat are overwhelmingly terrific right now. A lot of people want you fired right now, but the funny thing is they want you fired for a different reason than I do.
Because I favor censorship is what they're saying. Like no freedom of speech. By the way, freedom of speech, you can't come into some free chat and say whatever you want. That's not how free speech works. I don't know if you're aware.
Yeah, if you guys think that you could show up in these parts and you could talk about ERA without the wrath of consequences from Eric Lindquist, you thought something else.
Ban hammer.
Leaky crease, Eric the communist. We need to Photoshop Eric the actor from the Howard Stern show.
No, we really don't.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Eric the actor? He's just a little guy. Didn't he die? He's dead, right?
Unfortunately,
That's sad.
Ack, rest in peace. Yeah. Great radio entertainment.
It's good stuff.
Some people, at least one person here, wants you to be promoted.
Look at that.
Nice, Kevin, supporting Eric's promotion.
It's like a 1%. That's like playing Jay Crowder today. 0.1% owned. Very, very contrarian. Nobody's going to do it, but it's the winner.
Sports Wiz, promote Eric immediately. Clintwood 83, love you, Eric. So there's been pushback to the pushback now.
Pushback to the pushback. Also, I don't think people know. Am I liberal? Am I conservative? I think I'm just fair and balanced. That's what it is.
He's just a man who likes his stats.
I do. I'm a man who likes my stats, and I don't like people saying mean things or saying things at all. Even if I'm wrong, I'm right. Even if I'm right, I'm right.
Alvin Dimmery. Eric is sharp in a DFS, but his bit is trash, and this is the only channel he could work for. Eric is sharp in the DFS. Listen, people are making really strong points in chat.
Oh my God.
Here we go. Brandon Katz. Eric falls apart like a child when he challenges horrible takes.
Fall apart like a child. I kind of like this. This is pretty hilarious. I like it.
Ban Eric for saying Tears, words. Lindquist 2024. Boy, somebody's nominating you for president now.
Well, and I thought I was going to be vice underneath EMAC. That was always the goal.
Nah, why do you think I'm here? Ideally, in my opinion, EMAC would be the president. He would be the vice president. He would be the treasurer. He would be everything. He would be every single role in the world goes to EMAC.
It's fair. Denny Avdia already in the game. What happened? Did Daniel Gafford get 2 fouls instantly? No. Why is Daniel Gafford coming out of the game right away? What happened?
This is, it's funny. This is the last time that we did this, this is the exact same thing that happened.
RJ Hampton, Denny Avdia already scored a bucket instantly. This is bad. This is very bad.
Is this going to go against your presidential candidacy?
Probably should. A donkey. Deserve bad things to happen to me. I'm pretty sad, pretty dead inside as a person. It's fine. We're going to build anything on Underdog at any point in time.
I don't know. I'm really enjoying this. I mean, I guess we could. I guess we could go over to Underdog right now and tell people if they sign up using our promo code, they could get up to $100 bonus on their first deposit. We could tell them that. We could pull up Underdog and build.
How about that weather, Jordan Klein?
We could tell them that the number one projected prop on Underdog over at Stokastic right now is Jalen Williams for over 4 rebounds. That's a pretty low number, by the way.
It's a very low number for Jalen Williams. Williams. Where to get it?
Have you checked out Underdog? Do you have any?
I have it right here. I got monies. I also love the dark mode. It's just so nice to look at on the desktop.
So I threw it out. I said my favorite prop over there, Jalen Williams over 4 rebounds. How about yourself, Eric? What else? What are you liking over there?
How about you start being nice and treat me with respect for once in your goddamn life?
I don't have to.
Okay, that's fair. I would be sitting there waiting, wishing, hoping that you believed in superstition, and I would be playing myself a little bit of Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think 56 fantasy points is just too low. 56.05.
We got a super chat from Cornell Granville. It just says for Underdog, though. What's the other part?
It's pretty great.
for underdog. Where's the other part?
Wait, hold
do you
up.
have a
We have
question
Julius
for us,
Randle.
or just-
Julius Randle, 8.5 rebounds. Hello, how are you this fine day? 8.5 rebounds for Julius Randle is very low against Portland.
Yeah, Randall has had. Do you remember there was a stretch earlier in the year where Randall put up like 13 rebounds every single game?
Yeah, now he's at 8.5 for a line. He averages north of 10 on the season. What are we doing here?
He should be projected for over 10 in this spot too, in my humble opinion. I know that recently the numbers haven't been quite as gaudy on the boards, but still 8, 8, 10, 8, 9, 9. I like the over on Julius Randle myself. I think that's a good find there, Eric.
Thank you.
By the way,
Look at me
Cornell,
bringing
do you
you
have a
to the
question
table.
for us?
Do I have a question for you?
Oh, no. So Cornell just left a super chat. Just want you to start talking underdog. No question.
I did too. That's what I'm here for. Sorry. I don't know why
Optimal
I'm
Prime
dying
says
today.
that Eric is what a psychologist would call a vulnerable narcissist.
That is really, really astute. I think that's probably the best description of me ever. But that's not true. I'm an optimist. Also, no, I'm not. Denny Avdija just scored again. What is wrong with me as a person? What is Denny Avdija at? 4-1 right off the bat in like 2 minutes?
By the way,
Great.
I have terrible news.
What?
If this is true, chat. Everybody in chat is saying Omarui's hurt.
No, he's not.
That's
Don't
what
do
chat
it.
is saying.
Don't do that.
Chat is saying that Omarui's hurt.
Stop
I don't know if it's
it.
true or not. I don't know if the game pulled up. That would be a rough way for a lot of my lineups to sink, though.
57% gone instantly. I'm underneath the field. I have what, 40%?
I'm almost right at the field, but I don't know if it's true or not.
I didn't play him in my big lineup either. In all of the single entry stuff, I didn't play him. So
Let me go check Twitter.
that would
and see
actually
what
be a
people
good
are
draw
saying.
for me. They'd be down to 7. Duran about to smash, rolled the ankle. Oh, good.
Oh my! Wait, the best thing that could possibly happen to this,
Right.
if I have to lose money, but it means that Brandon Katz smashes this late with Jalen Duren. Oh my God, would that be fantastic?
It's Buddy Boeheim season, baby. Keldon Johnson ruled out. We got things to talk about, people.
Keldon Johnson's rolled out really quick, though. Do you have anything else that you would bring up that you like as a prop from underdog?
Julius Randle, what more do you want from me? What do you want from me?
Yeah, so your favorite is Randall. I also like the Giannis call on fantasy points, and then I really do like Jalen Williams for over rebounds. Super low number at 4.
$25. What's insurance? What is that? Oh, you need at least. I don't want insurance.
Yeah. So insurance, by the way, it's like protection. So if you get sick, you don't just have to pay the hospital bills. The insurance takes care of it for you. You just pay your
Greg, seriously.
You don't have insurance?
I do have insurance. Why are you doing this? I'm looking at the underdog thing. Yeah, Omar Rui headed to the locker room.
Who doesn't believe in insurance.
That's not what I'm talking about.
We got a super chat from Charles Moran also. Thanks for the advice yesterday. FanDuel GPP.
Oh, I wasn't on the show.
I think that one was more directed at me. Thanks for the advice yesterday. You're welcome, Charles. FanDuel GPP, best power forward 6,300 or less from the remaining games. Let's see. 6,300 or less at power forward. That is Cameron Johnson for me.
Cool. I have no idea.
All right. There we go. Eric starts to turn on the chat and then he's refused to answer anybody's questions. All Charles did was say thank you for the advice yesterday. And Eric
but then I realized that you were making fun of me again, being a jerk again. You're kind of a jerk all the time, but it's fine. Jeremy Sohan, why are we... I don't want to do this again, Greg. Why are we doing this?
To the message that Chuck Deuces just sent in there. Yes, that's why I had a rib removed.
Wow.
Oh my God. Do we also? Oh my. Did we just have Omar Rui get hurt and then Hampton get into foul trouble on back-to-back plays?
Sure did.
What good times. This slate is coming undone quickly. At least from the Cavs side. Chalk Garland's playing well. Chalk Levert is playing well. Evan Mobley picked up 2 personal fouls immediately. Oh my God. Mobley, 2 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist in 4 minutes, and picks up 2 fouls and comes out of the game. But
Brandon Ingram will play.
Brandon Ingram will play. But let's talk about the Spurs. We've got a few minutes left here. We just got news that Keldon Johnson will not play today. With him out, who are you liking more from the Spurs that we should be swapping to?
I mean, it's going to be Devin Vassell. I don't want it to be Devin Vassell. I don't know how it's not Devin Vassell, though. It just feels like a plug your nose and just don't look at the box score. Don't do anything else. Just play a lot of Devin Vassell because I don't know how else they score a basketball in this spot.
Let me look at the Spurs right. I was really hoping Keldon Johnson would just play.
Me too. This is really not an enjoyable experience in any way, shape, or form.
We had a really fun show, though.
Yeah, we did. I would say that this was an above average enjoyment of a show. If you guys agree, hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. Come hang out with us routinely, because then you can watch me get made fun of for, 90 consecutive minutes.
I don't think you got made fun of today. It was you were really bringing out the band hammer in chat.
Band hammer. Boom.
You were really getting rid of people pretty aggressively.
Well, they deserve it because they're idiots.
So I don't think there's anybody from the Spurs now, as I'm looking through the pricings and starting to update some of them. I don't think there's anybody now that I would look at and say, like, oh, I absolutely need to play this guy. He's, an incredible value option. But I think Collins, Vassell, and Sokan go from guys I wasn't that interested to guys who now project all of them for over 30 fantasy points and are good targets in the mid-range to have in like 10% of lineups.
I concur with that sentiment.
Is there anybody that you like more than the others? Is it Vassell still?
Yeah. Also, if you're playing other places today too, CJ McCollum 39.5 fantasy score with Brandon Ingram in. Just throwing it out there. Feels a little high.
A little high to you?
Hit him high, hit him high, hit him low. Yeah, a little bit of that.
All right. Let me upload. Oh, you know what? Oh, no, we got that game starting in 3 minutes. Got to update this.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, we got to go.
Some more super chats. The big nerd, how are we skinning cat? How are we skinning the cat tonight? Have you heard that phrase? There's many ways to skin a cat.
Yeah, but why are we talking about it?
It came up yesterday, and there was somebody who had never heard it before. He thought I was actually killing cats, and he got very upset.
Well, you do, because you're a sick person, and you deserve to be punished.
Wow. I've never once muted somebody in chat.
Well,
the bird
just
nerd,
the worst.
The bird nerd, how are we skinning the cat tonight? So the honest answer is we are hoping that Damian Lillard doesn't play, and then we late swap. There's many ways to skin a cat, and one of them is to leave yourself lineup flexibility for later in the night to be able to make some swaps if something like Damian Lillard and Jeremy Grant don't play.
That's what I'm saying.
Vince, 1979 Gator, Fultz, and Alton. Who is that supposed to be?
Did I just see 2 fouls for Duren? Is that confirmed? That would be so lovely, even though he's still going to play through it because he is apparently not valued.
Fultz and Alton, Claxton, Paul, or Graham Siakam. Well, I don't love any of those combinations. Claxton and Paul the most, though. Oh, yes. Ayton. Okay, I understand. Fultz and Ayton, Claxton, Paul, or Graham Siakam. Claxton and Paul.
Yes.
All right. Upload these. Have you changed your lineups for the Spurs news?
I did. I got Jeremy Sohan a little bit. I didn't get to as much as I expected, so that's fine. Jeremy Sohan ended up being the guy I got to the most in the aftermath of it. And Keita Bates-Diop, I had 0 of, and now I have like 2%. Good talk.
Yeah, the Sohan one doesn't really shock me. That's the player that you ended up getting the most of. Let's see. Who is it for myself? It is actually Zach Collins for me. But like I said, I don't have more than 10% of any of them.
Yep. It's I have more than 10% Sohan. I have more than that.
Okay. Upload.
Not by much.
There we
go.
We are.
Got it.
My lineups are all set. Eric, do you have any final thoughts on the slate before we log off for the night?
Yeah, pay attention to Milwaukee, whoever gets the starting nod from there with no Middleton, no Grayson Allen, a little bit depleted there. You could have unexpected news pop up. You got both the teams on a back-to-back in that one, so just kind of be on the ready for something random to show up. And then obviously Lillard, Jeremy Grant. I think Grant is more unlikely to play between the two. I'm getting to Nasir Little. You could do a 1-for-1 swap to Connaughton, although in the event that both of them were starting, kind of ideally you'd want to have both of them in your lineups.
All right. That's going to do it for us today. If you guys didn't do it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Are you going to be back tomorrow?
I'm not back tomorrow. I know everybody's so sad, but I have fair and balanced things to do.
Yeah, like ban people in chat. Eric has found that 2 days in a row is a little much for him on live before lock. He likes to take a break from me. If you guys want to catch him on the Odd Shopper channel, don't forget, go subscribe over there, 4 to 5. Weekdays, we've got the live Odd Shopper show. Go check that out. Guys, have a great night tonight. Good luck. I will be back here tomorrow.